live. What's up, Jam? What's up, Charlie Guns? What's up, Elijah? Elijah Pippin. Elijah Pippin. What's up, man? Hope you guys doing all right. Hope everybody's doing. What's today? Thursday. Hope everybody's doing all right. I want to do a stream tonight. I'll probably cover a video too, but I want to do a stream tonight over uh two different types of two, mostly generally speaking, two friends groups, right? Because here's the thing: the hard part, I think, just another complication, right, to my life is having grown up with with relatively severe jumps in socioeconomic. I don't say severe, but there was definitely a big jump in socioeconomic areas, right? And I've been and recently I've been noticing a lot uh, with with classes, hierarchies, kind of things. I'm noted. It almost feels like every week, or every week to every month, I'm growing to start to see more. It becomes more clear, right? For example, when I go and teach, right? I go to corporate banks to teach. I really don't try to mess with too much of anything else. I was getting ready to teach a bunch of architects here, and I actually was interested to do that because I'm interested. I've always been interested in architect and in what it would take to become an architect. So I was always interested in that. I just never, I never get around to doing it. I honestly, I wanted to go to a community college just to get like a associate's degree in an associate's degree in architecture, just so I can get some, some type of at least formal understanding about it. But I just never did. I'm getting ready to start another master's in IT, so like I just never made it to architecture, botany. I never even think about it until I think about it. But I've always wanted to go into those worlds. So I was getting ready to it was a group of architects. They wanted me to teach them, and our schedules just did not link up at all. Like, because they wanted me to come be there at like 10. Like, they wanted me to be there at 9, and then I said, "Well, can you make it 10? But then can we switch it to like Friday?" And like they just couldn't do that because that's when they had home office and all this shit like that. And then they really wanted at 9, and I'm not getting ready to get up at 8. I'm not getting up that early for anything unless it's like my son's doctor's appointment or something like that. I'm not getting ready, get up and prepare and travel to a job that early in the morning. That's just not going. As long as I have some leeway in the situation, I'm not going to do that. Um, but yeah, I'm noticing like the oh yeah, because where I was going at was when I go teach at these, but when I go to the banks, right? And as I'm getting older, I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it a lot more clearly. So for example, when I go to this one bank, I meet with a woman. She's a director, but she's cool. She's cool. She's a director of a department, and we get our own, like, it's a legit like professional office we sit in, and then the way, like, there's like this kind of like a diner. It's like it's all legit nice, but it's like a eatery, like a restaurant, like in the building, but it's like, oh, it's across the hallway from us. And they always come over and ask me if I want something to drink and what do I want, and blah 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 blah. And and I see it. I mean, I feel it differently. And I was telling my spouse, I said, yeah, I was telling my spouse too. I said, see, those same girls who are like, because they hire a bunch of young hot girls to work as the waitresses, right? And they're coming, going, and they're like saying, "Would you like something to drink, sir? What do you want to? What would you like?" And they're all like, and all that. And I said, "Look, them same girls, if they had to see me out in the street somewhere, they wouldn't pay me no attention. It's just the whole context of being in, at a work environment where, especially like a bank, like those girls, that's a step up for them, right?" But the woman I work with, that's just her life, so she's just completely cool about it. Um, but what got me thinking about, um, what got me thinking about just the differences in it is I was hanging out with a friend of mine today. He just got back from the U.S. He's doing some military shit back in the U.S. And I was hanging out with him at the coffee shop. We was sitting there just catching up and talking about stuff. And we got on a topic, and I had to explain to him how different socioeconomical groups usually don't blend a lot, right? And I forget what I said, but I could tell that he had never been around poverty. I can tell. Like there's little things that people will say that will make it 100% clear that they've never experienced, like they've never been in that poverty culture mindset, right? That poverty culture, there's a difference. I was telling him there's a difference between being educated and you just lost your job for a while and you're looking for new work and you're poor because you just don't have money, but you have the tools and education to go out there and get a good paying job. There's a difference in that versus you grew up in a culture that culturally does not go to university. They don't have any ambition. They don't have any goals. Those are two completely different types of poor, right? And he had no idea what I was talking about, right? He genuinely had no idea. So he eventually ended up saying I didn't grow. Speaking to him, I asked him did he ever grow up around poverty? He goes, well, no, we were poor, but we weren't he was talking about his life. He said, yeah, we were poor, but everybody in my family knew to go to college and this and that. I said, yeah, see, that is a huge jump in poverty, right? There's a lot of motherfuckers in poverty who got degrees, right? Because they just hit a bad time, whatever like that, bad stretch of time. But growing up in a poor culture is like a legit culture where all your friends and connections of friends are relatively in the same boat. That's a whole different thing. And I think this adds more to my frustration in everyday life because I know what both sides are seeing. You know what I mean? Like when I did go to college, I went to a community college first, and then I went literally from the worst form of college to pretty much the best form of college in my area of Ohio. So I got to see both worlds in the college setting in America, right? And how they were just completely miscommunicating with each other, and what one said and the other one heard, and what one heard and what the other one actually said, kind of thing. I've always had these experiences because I was telling my friend, I said, because my mom's side of family most people in my mom's family were educated, right? They went off to college. Now there was never many like rich people, but everybody in my mom's side of family, they had ambition, right? Now, most of my mom's family did grow up poor, but they had a sense of ambition, right? Now, my dad's side of family, virtually none of them went to college. You can count on one hand how many of them went to college, and then literally one that I know of graduated. And she had an associate's degree. She didn't even get a bachelor's, right? And so, she was the height of that side of my family, right? So my dad's side of family is relatively formally uneducated, but my mom's side of family, I would say at minimum half of them have college degrees, university degrees, right? So I grew up seeing both sides and what both sides would tend to do, how both sides will handle stress, both sides, how who tended to have ambition, and goals or take risks, and not kind of box themselves into, oh, I can't do that because that's for somebody better than me. I really had to grow up, and I seen how both sides would handle these situations, right? And like I said, as I'm getting older, it's all just becoming so much more clear. It's all becoming so much clearer to the point where I'm almost getting bitter about it, and feeling like just completely giving up on the poor side, right? Or the poor / uneducated side, because it really ends up being what's up, Cosmic Variant? can a brother send you a band? I don't know what a band is. Is that money? I don't know. But you can send me money, sure. But yeah, back to what I was saying. It's like I was trying to explain to the friend of mine the differences between being poor when you grow up in a household where you know you're going to go to college. It's not even a question. It's not even a doubt. You know you're going to get into college. Not like you're an elite human, but you just say, I think I'm going to do that. And then you go do it, right? Because your parents or your parents and or friends and or family members were all doing it in some form. So by the time you grew up, you felt like you had to do it, right? Because it was just there. Whereas, let's say like my dad's side of family, like not many people really talking about doing anything of any value for real. Like and once you get into this type of culture, like the poor people, that poor mentality culture, right? I'm not saying my dad's side of the family is poor, but it's a poor mentality, right? Because some of them are doing relatively pretty well, right? But it's a mentality that comes along with that. I'm seeing that is not every case, but there is general alignments to it. Whereas, okay, so let's say like my dad's side of the family, like most of them lack ambition. There's no sense of trying many things new, stepping outside the box for too long. There's a lot of fear of the world, these kind of things, right? Whereas again, like my mom's side of family, that fear is nowhere near the same. It's just nowhere near. It's not as bad of an infection, let's say, because that fear is a hell of an infection, dude. Like once that fear gets in you, and you start to believe shit, and you believe in shit, on your own, and you dive into that fear and self doubt, you dive into that shit too much, man. Like it's over. It's over. So again, yeah. So back to the friend of mine, I was trying to explain to him like the deeper realities of ambition, right? Because what's up, Mo? so I've been gone so long, I don't know the slang. A band. Oh yeah. I completely forgot. Yeah, you're right, JM. I completely forgot what a band was. I used to know what it was. I completely forgot. I thought it was 100 though. Okay. But I was explaining to him. I said, yeah, see, in these cultures, like in the poor mentality cultures, none of them, very few of them, genuinely know somebody who went off and did something with their life and stayed close to them. Because again, these two groups don't mingle a whole lot. Like they'll stop at most, they'll stop by and say hey and hang out for an hour or two and then be gone because they can't talk for too long with each other. And I feel like I'm drifting into that same situation. So the poor mentality will tend to usually be religious. Pretty much anything that will continuously spread fear. Poor mentalities crave it. Like poor cold. And I'm speaking America poor. They crave it because they're built off of fear. Their entire lives, they were told to dress nice and suck up in interviews and to get good jobs because if you work hard, you can be manager one day. They were born and bred in this, right? They were never born and bred into hanging out with or having an older brother or an uncle who was like I don't know, working in administration in a hospital and would come over and get drunk. So they got to see. I think now I'm thinking about it. I think this is a better way to put it. See, when you're in a culture where everybody's going to get higher education, right? It's just a matter of time before one of your friends is going to get a real good job or a title of authority job, and you're going to see them behind the scenes, right? And then you're going to go, oh wow, Rod is the head of police and he's sitting over there puking in his lap drunk, crying over some woman. Like he's just a human. And then that tells you, oh, this motherfucker's just a human. Okay, well I can go if they gonna hire him, I don't see why they wouldn't hire me if I went and did it. And see, that opens the door for that culture to go out. To go out and better themselves, like in a formal sense in the world, right? But on that poor on from that poor mentality, from the poor culture, the culture of poverty, they never get to hang out. They very rarely, if ever, get to hang out with, let's say, the head of police. So they don't know. They never see. All they ever see is when they see. All they ever see and know. I'm just using head of police as an example. All they ever know of that head of police guy is when he's on TV and he's dressed up looking perfect. Like let's say for example Chris Hansen, because I've been watching like Chris Hansen lately when he be catching those guys trying to fuck 14-year-old girls. Let's say Chris Hansen for example. Chris Hansen is probably somewhere drunk, hiccuping right now, going oh, talking shit, laughing. Look, I bet Chris Hansen has some hilarious stories behind the scenes. But when he jumps on TV, he's got to be Chris Hansen. Why don't you do it? Look, I guarantee you, with his friends, he is cracking jokes on all them, like, everything. That motherfucker's probably hilarious behind closed doors, right? Right? But when he hops on TV, he got to be Chris Hansen again. So now he's got to talk like, but why did you do it? You got to talk like this. But this doesn't make an excuse. He said he doesn't like 14-inch pizzas, so maybe he shouldn't like 14-year-olds. He's got to do that for TV. So for people who've never been around people like that, it's hard for them to even accept that they can, be like that, right? So for example, my uncle, he died years ago, man. My uncle, he was the one who got me into the classier things in life, right? I had no idea there was such thing as designer chairs, designer microwaves, designer lamps. I had designer couches. I had no idea there was even couches that can that could be expensive. I never knew. And he was the one who always had. So I got to see it through him. My uncle on my mom's side was essentially my gateway into ambition, life, right? Because on the other side of family, like, see, and here's the big confusion about ambition. See, ambition is not just looking at somebody and saying, "Hey, you should be an astronaut. Go be an astronaut." That's not ambition. That's wishful thinking and just trying to say something positive, and you got a little excited. An ambitious family would be like, "Oh, you want to be an astronaut? Let me call somebody real fast because they might know where you go to become an astronaut." Bring. Oh, you don't know? Okay, well, give me somebody else's number who may know. Okay, see, that is an ambitious culture. An ambitious family is, I see one thing you do, and I'm actually making a move to get you in the right fucking direction, right? See, when you talk about these families or cultures that have no ambition, they just look at somebody and say, "You need to be a comedian. You need to be a dishwasher, whatever. It doesn't matter, dishwasher, whatever. You need to go be a lawyer," and that'll be it, right? Because they don't know what to do. They have no. So that's not ambitious. Like, and I think these are minute differences that never get talked about. And I think this is why so many people on Earth are confused about hard work equals success and this shit like that. I mean, there's a little bit of hard work in everything. Hard work. When it comes to success or bettering yourself, hard work should be the least of your goddamn thoughts. Hard work is the least. No matter what path you pick, you are gonna come into hard work at some point. If you choose to mop floors every day for the rest of your life, you'll find some hard work in that. Hard work is people need to get off that hard work trend. If you want something valuable, then it's got to be hard work. It's got to be difficult. Make this very clear right now. Hard work is going to be in life no matter what path you pick. So just forget about that. Okay. Now think about what is it that you want to do? Or what is it that you think you can stomach? Let me say that, because no matter whatever you think you want to do, you're going to get tired of it. Right? So my thing is, when it comes to, the success and hard work, look, step one, accept that hard work is going to be there no matter what you pick. Step two is realizing that it's not about, the reality is it's not about hard work. It's about you confronting your fears on what you really want to do, but you're too scared to go do it. Okay. If you want to go be an engineer, People go, oh, that's hard work. That's hard work. Look, like I said before, you will find hard work flipping burgers for 10 hours a day. All right, you gonna have hard work. It's gonna eventually come down to hard work. Even if you love flipping burgers, if you stand on your feet for 10 hours a day for the next 10 years, and then you look back at your life and say, all I did was flip burgers, and that's just all I know how to do, and then and now you're depressed. Now it's gonna eventually turn into hard work, because now that's what you pigeonhole yourself into. You always no matter what path you pick, you're going to come across hard work. All right. So the reality of it is, somebody wants to be an engineer, a pilot, a cook, whatever. I don't insert profession here, and they start getting on down. Oh, it's hard work. Blah blah blah. No, the problem is not hard work. The issue is self doubt, and hard work is the excuse. Because I share a personal story, which I probably shouldn't, but I will. I probably shouldn't even say this on YouTube. I'm gonna say it anyway, because I think people need to hear shit like this, right? A family member of mine just is a fucking idiot, right? I can't even put it another way, because I guess I don't have any more patience. And my dad told me his story. He tells me about what he does, right? He is the stereotypical black male, black American male. Drinks, smokes. He never amount to anything. Got be kid, baby mama, kids, child support, all that, right? And I to this point, like, me and my dad, like, we don't even talk about it much anymore, because I just told my dad, like, I don't have the patience to even, I don't have the patience for that. Okay. The reason why, and the reason why I can say this confidently, is because, look, just as fast, again, it's the culture. It has, and I was telling the friend at the coffee shop, it's the person, it's the culture, it's the mentality. Some people are made to be slaves. The hard part is we can't figure out which ones they are, and we got to wait for people to end up proving themselves, either intentionally or unintentionally, right? And some people just get bad luck, but some people are made to be slaves, and this person is meant to be a slave. I would be Uncle Ruckus and be like, yeah, go on, get him, put him on the bow. Because some people are made to be slaves. Because here's the thing, when you go off in the world, right, and let's say, I'm just using university as an example. You don't have to do university, just as long as you have some ambition. I'm using university as an example. For every person, like this person I'm talking about, who's a complete clown in life, there was another dude. Look, there's 5 others walking around universities right now who did what they had to do to take one course a semester and kept something moving. Okay. And I tell my dad, like, I don't have patience for people like him, because I've seen legit poverty, not American poverty. I've seen legit poverty. Okay, when you go to Argentina, and as soon as you leave Buenos Aires, you start coming across people who built their houses out of cardboard and plastic on top. And with rain buckets sitting outside. You'll see that shit, dude. Like, these motherfuckers don't have a choice or option, right? So, if you are sitting in North America, I don't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry. Here's the thing. You have so many options in North America, because I've seen too much outside of U.S. And I would say Europe too. You have too many options. That is not okay. When people are complaining, okay. Getting jobs, okay, I get it. Getting jobs are not set in stone. You can't just go out in the world and be like, hey, I want $1 million, so pay me $1 million, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Like, that's out of your control. But in terms of keeping some ambition and trying to better yourself, if you're living in North America, or I say what they like to call Central to Western Europe, there's no excuse. You got options. You just want to be cute. You just trying to be cute. All right. That's what that is. I just don't have patience for that. I've seen too much. And what I was telling a friend of mine in the coffee shop, I said, um, I just read a comment and lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I saying? But yeah, ultimately, it's ultimately is the person. It's the person. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. So another thing that starts to become clear is like people. Let's just say ambitious people who are truly ambitious and trying to think and trying to talk blah 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 blah. There's one major difference that I find when I'm having any type of a conversation, right? The people who tend to lack any type of real ambition, generally speaking, um, I will spend hours, if not days, talking about the same one problem over and over and over again, right? Whereas with somebody who, and I hate to say this, but when I'm speaking with somebody who's legitimately college educated, we can hit a problem, tackle it, and then just keep moving. It's so much smoother. And at least 90% of my friends group who fit on both sides, it's always the same thing, right? It's always the same thing. Because I was saying, like, okay, like for example, last week I said I had the Russian friend of mine over. He's got a master's degree, and he's an intellectual dude. You know, when we talk about anything, he's a very intellectual dude. And it's the same thing. Like when we talk about something, it's just boom, done, blah blah blah, and we move on to something else, and we can keep moving along. Right now, my spouse never went to college, right? And see, these are the issues that nobody on Red Pill or anybody's talking about. Is when there are problems with women who don't go to college. Like sometimes and here's the thing, I'm starting to lean towards wanting a college educated woman, but trying to find the right type. Because at this point, I would not date I would not date a woman who did not go to college. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't do it. I don't know, because there's bad sides of both sides. But like with her, like with my spouse, like it'll be like this, you moving mentally moving like molasses kind of thing, right? And it's super awkward, and it's just getting annoying, honestly, at this point. But me and Russian friend, or me and the guy I hung out with today, like most of my male friends have higher education. There's a few who don't, if either they have higher education or they're working higher up jobs. And in Europe, you can do that without education. Um, um, but yeah, it's just that just the overall sense of just like ambition in little things. I can immediately see it as I'm aging. And then yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah, it's just rough, man. Because like I said, from my perspective, like I grew up in both families. I grew up seeing it like all the time, right? Like just like the most basic of things, like just looking for something to eat, right? Like, you're looking for something to eat. If I'm like, I already know this specific group. If we talk about something to eat, it's gonna be 2 hours before you figure out something to eat, right? And you get with the other group is solved in 30 seconds or less. Like just congested shit. And the thing is, I'm seeing it so much more. I'm seeing it so much more. Like it's becoming so clear to me. Like every week to month I get older, I'm noticing all these little things, all these little things. And like I said, Red Pill's pushing and I probably did too in the beginning. But now I think now I'm getting older, I'm starting to change on that. Now as I'm getting older, I think I'm starting to change. I think I would want a woman who graduated from a university, not just went, because the ones who just go and never graduate, that starts a whole nother set of mental issues because now it's like they don't think they're good enough, but they're trying to fake like they are because they want to keep up with the guy. They don't want to look like they're, because they get insecure about it. Get with a woman who, I now looking back, if a guy who's like my age came and asked me, or I'd say 30, if a guy is 30 and asked me what type of woman should he go after, I would say, especially if he graduated from university, get a woman that went to college. Okay, y'all can figure. Look, I've heard so many stories of student debt. You can make that work. I wouldn't even worry about the student debt at this point. It's the situation of being able to talk this, because okay, here's the other issue that I do find, and this is just my off the top of the dome assumption, right? Is, see, when you're a university, unless you got some amazing grant or something like that, you are going to hit a point where you just don't have any money or something, right? And you just don't have it. And but you'll have a couple weeks to think about it and what you're going to do, right? And remember, college is a relatively speaking, it's an extracurricular. Like, you don't need college to survive, right? You're choosing to do it, right? So, and this is a big difference I noticed with me and my spouse. It was like right before the baby was born, we weren't sure if she was going to get the maternity leave money and all that, right? And then she kind of started panicking, and I'm turning like, no, it's going to be fine. Like I've been through this because I was in college in America. Like, I've been through, situations that look immediately like you're going to fail. You know what I mean? And most people would just run in these situations. But when you go through that rigor of universities, right, you get used to that shit. And you just and you can think over it. You can just be okay, so this and you could just think over it and keep going, right? Whereas if the person never did that, if they never had that training, especially in that format, like it starts to show. It'll show. Like what's really important and what's not. And again, I think university is a very traumatic time for learning these things, like what's actually important and what's not, right? And the reason why I say university is a very traumatic point, because everybody's going to hit a point of poverty at some point for one reason or another, right? So let's take another scenario of a person who's working at like United Dairy Farmers or like a Shell gas station, right? And they're paying their rent every month, and they might lose their job at Shell, and they ran out of money, and now they got to think about what's important and what's not. Well, the way that really hits individual people is completely different, because when the person is now working at Shell, okay, that person has now, and they, let's say they work at a gas station, right? And they've run out of money to pay rent, and they want that job. That person has now submitted themselves to a gas station for work, right? So, like, their biggest hope is that a gas station will keep them employed, right? Now, I'm not saying it's not a rough situation or a bad situation, but it's on a psychological level. That person is now looking at a gas station as their form of survival, right? And that's it. That's as far as their brain could go in the world, in reality now, is this gas station, most cases, right? So that hit, so in a sense, that person is a bit more comfortable because they know gas stations are relatively speaking, more easily obtainable. It's not gonna. There's no real hope in developing, but there's a comfort to it, right? Now, on the flip side, yeah, universities learn how to cheat well, yeah, that too. Now, on the flip side, like when you're in college, well, now it's like you got this pressure of like wanting to graduate colleges. You don't want to go back home a failure and all that, right? So now you got that pressure, and then it's the pressure of like, well, if I get a degree, I have hope of getting a job in the future. So what can I do to hold on to this hope mixed with potential shame? But mostly it's the hope is what gets you over into pushing harder. Because with a regular job, there's not a whole lot you can do to really push harder. It's just if they end up liking you or not. But when you're in a university, like you have to like you got to manage money, you got to manage trying to study half the shit you'll never even know because you'll get a douchebag teacher who just gives you a bunch of questions there's no way you can know the answer to, right? And you have to manage your emotions and all the you got to manage your emotions, your money, your time. Then if you got your own place, you got to keep that clean. You got a car, did the car break down? You got a girlfriend, is the girlfriend breaking up with you next week? You don't know, and you're juggling all that throughout college. So you like when you were in college, like you have to learn on a bigger scale. Okay, what is actually important now, and what can actually be important for my future in a legitimate way, not just becoming manager at Shell gas station, right? But like what can truly get me into a higher echelon of earning money potentially, right? Because not even certain. You may not get a job after college. So, so inevitably what ends up happening is you end up focusing on your ambition. Your ambition is going to be pretty much be what keeps you holding on, right? So now it's like, okay, how do I manage this ambition to keep going? And then that subconsciously is de- uh, a huge, I don't say derailment, but for lack of better words, derailment off of that mentality that you probably were on before, right? Because now you're thinking about something else and okay, how can I better this? Blah 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 blah. And coming back to women, like I can I'm seeing it more and more often, like just all the little signs of it, all of it. Because the other thing, now I'm not saying it's 100% all the time both ways, but another thing is this that I do notice, especially in my family or closer people to me, the older people. Another big thing you want to pay attention to is look at the older people in your life and their personalities, characteristics, and all that, and then look at their background, right? Notice how the people, generally speaking, I'll say in my life, generally speaking, the people who genuinely went out and accomplished something don't tend to walk around like they're hiding something all the time. They're not on this whole, they're not trying to hide things a lot. I mean, everybody's gonna hide something, but it's not like this massive hiding. Now, what I've noticed is in my immediate, not in my immediate, well, in my immediate family too, and close friends and family, it's always the ones who never accomplish anything in life. Those are always the one who want to keep their life secret because you might find out they never accomplished anything in life, right? It's always that aunt or that uncle or that cousin. Like they don't want you knowing all their business because they don't have any business. They didn't do anything with their life, right? But they're afraid that you might find out about it, that they never did anything with their life. So it's this whole everything's got to be a secret thing. It's always that group of people. But everybody who's genuinely done something would just say like, yeah, I fucked that up, but it is that. It's just, is no, there's no congestion in it. I mean, it's not 100%, but generally speaking, like for example, my spouse, right? Like her mom is one of those, like her mom's one of those people. Like she's one of the people who never accomplished much with her life, right? She's one of those people. Now her mom's sister did, right? And it's the same thing like with what I got going on in my dad's side of the family. Like they don't want to come around and see anybody. They don't want to talk to anybody. Blah 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 blah. And it's always the one who never did anything. So and everybody's trying to figure out why don't they want to come and blah blah blah. Don't you want to come for Christmas? Blah, blah, blah. And they never want to come over, but everybody else is there except them. That's why, because they're ashamed. And the hard part is like I try to tell my spouse, I say like, look, like your mom, she's ashamed, just like my dad or my uncles and these people, like because they'll be ashamed of it, like they just people like you. But it's hard to believe that like older people can be ashamed. It really is. I think that's a big issue in development. And I think that's where I got over with my first master's in being a therapist, was that I got to hear and read all these stories of older people doing the silliest things because they're ashamed of something, and and they just learned how to dodge it for 10 and 20 years, 30, 40 years, right? So I feel like I got a cheat sheet. I got a cheat sheet in seeing humanity in many ways from my, profession. A cheat sheet, I should say. A cheat sheet to see it. They just be embarrassed. What's this? Cuban Lake says, yo, idea. I'm going to Poland this summer. Definitely thinking of visiting Prague, man. What are some good things to get up to out in Prague? I mean, just go to the city and walk around. I don't even go out anymore, man. A friend of mine from Germany, he comes down and we was looking for some place to eat, and I even know where to go because I don't even go out anymore. I just don't go out. I even know where to go. He wanted some meat, like a plate of meat, and I couldn't even think of anywhere near where we were at because I don't go out anymore, man. But what I tell you, well, Poland, I've always heard good things about Poland, hanging out wise. I don't think I've ever heard a bad story about Poland. Czech Republic, I mean, just I'd say go to Show Park, go, if you like museums, there's some cool, I mean, I say go to a castle. I would not recommend you go to the castle in the capital because that's always going to be packed with tourists. And once you've seen one castle, you've pretty much seen them all. I would recommend you go find like a castle outside of a city center, outside of a capital city, because it'll usually be pretty much completely empty because there's no tourist out there. But once you've seen one castle, you've pretty much seen them all. Where was that? I remember me and my ex-wife, we went to see a castle in Vienna. And that was the castle in Vienna was about the only different looking one on the inside that I've ever been in. Like where they had like the bathrooms were like bigger, like the bathrooms in that castle were like bigger than this entire flat. It was ridiculous. Like it was crazy. Um I don't know the name of it, but it was a castle in Vienna. That one was about the only memorable one that I can think of, and I've been to plenty of them. Well, pretty much in Czech Republic. I maybe in another country. Probably just can't remember right now. But if you like castles, you go to a castle. They're cool. I mean, I don't know what you're really into. Um, but I tell you what, if you just go to like Facebook, join like a Prague Facebook group or something for like, or just look it up, or maybe go on like Reddit or something and just ask like, and they'll have like what to do like in Prague or in Czech Republic, anywhere. Just go like Czech Republic Facebook group, and you'll find stuff in there, or wherever you're going to travel, even Poland. I say just go in groups like that and just find what to do. I just don't like going on any type of like tourist thing. So you know what? I just went to the Prague. I just went to Prague Castle probably about 2 months ago with the Russian friend I got. He wanted to go and it was free, and I went there for the first time. That's pretty much the main tourist attraction in Prague. I went for the first time like after 7 years of living here. I don't, because if it's a touristy area, I don't even like going to them. And I remember the line was like completely, like it was awful. And and I'm following him, and he just like like this is what I love. I don't want to say because he's Russian, but I gotta say it's because it was that like maybe it fit the stereotype of what I'm thinking a Russian is, but like just that blatant courage to just like this motherfucker made eye contact with the person that he cut in front of in the line, and I had to and like he was like Wayne Brady and I was like Dave Chappelle. Like I was scared to be with him. Like so I just followed him. This motherfucker made eye contact with the person that he cut in front of and just relaxed. And I remember I tried to say, hey man, we can't cut. And he just pretended he pulled out his phone so I would shut the fuck up and act like he was talking to somebody. Right? I knew exactly what he was doing, but it was like I couldn't. What could I do? Like, so that's how we got in because it was free to get into Prague Castle that day. So the line was insanely long. Like I would have never gone, but he wanted to go. He was showing me pictures. Yo, I didn't know this. Did you guys know that Moscow has like an insanely large underground train system? Like that's just like crazy. Like it's insanely big. I had no idea. He showed me all that shit. So this is absurd. I'm definitely going to Moscow whenever all this shit's over with, because Moscow looks pretty fucking gangster. He showed me pictures of that shit, and we was talking about it. I said, look, okay, I'm going. You can go if you want to go, but I'm going to Moscow when this shit's over. That shit looks great. Shit looks great. I'm definitely going to Russia. Whenever whenever we can legally go there by plane, I'm going. That shit looks a whole lot better than Kiev did. But yeah, that motherfucker, he looked the motherfucker in the eye and cut and just stood there like he was supposed to be there, like he knew him and shit. But now I was with a friend of mine today, right? And this was fucked up. I had no idea this was a thing. He was saying how his friends were hiring somebody because he's this is the friend of mine who got the doctorate, and he's got it. And he's doing military work now. And he said when his friends get applications from Russian people, they just throw them in the trash. They just don't hire like Russian people. I said that's fucked up. Like this is what I'm talking about from earlier. What I was talking about when you have friends in these worlds, like you hear all these things like behind the scenes that you'll never hear people say this on CNN and shit like that, right? Like how Donald Trump said Europe is pathetic. Donald Trump's team said Europe is pathetic and they're tired of bailing out Europe. See, motherfuckers cover that up real quick on the news because they can't get because that's an international hate crime. Saying anything negative on public news about Europe, that is an international hate crime. You can say it about Africa. You can say it about the Middle East. You can say it about the Asians, but you can't say that about Europe. That is an international hate crime to say that. And since it was an American president, they shut that shit up real quick. That it made the news for a hot second and disappeared. Look at Trump says he literally said Europe is pathetic. Or Trump the team. I'm sorry. But see, you notice how that guy it went quiet. That shit hit radio silence because it's a hate crime to say that. But since it's the American president, it's gonna like I was telling my spouse, like, see that like Europe wants the world to continue to hate Donald Trump because how Donald Trump had the courage to say what he said about Ukraine, which there was not any harsh lie told in that whole meeting that he had, and he started talking about Canada. See, these countries, like the political leaders, want the world to just jump on the Trump hate bandwagon. So, like anything, mark my words, Trump is going to get a million times hate in the next month after he said what he said about Canada and said what he said about Europe. You can't do that to the white population. The egos can't handle that. It's fucked up. But if you can say that about African countries, you could say it about Middle East. You could say it about Russia. You could say it about Asian countries. And people just say, oh, well, I guess they did it to themselves, whatever. But you can't say that about white countries. That is an international hate crime because that ego, all that media out there pushing them as the heroes and all that. And now you don't say, and then you got a white man saying that about them. You can't have that. So now they get ready to jump on. They get ready to make sure the world hates Trumps now because but it's really for a sad reason, right? Because it's true. Wait, here's the thing. I went on a rant telling my spouse, telling her, man, she's white, right? And I told her, look, anybody who can take offense to what anything Donald Trump said to Zelensky or what Trump's team says about Europe, anybody who's taken offense to that is, in my opinion, is officially outing themselves as a closet racist who voted for Trump because they thought Trump would just focus on the illegal immigrants. They were focused on that aspect. See, Trump came in and actually did business. And their color didn't mean nothing anymore. Anybody, because he did, the man didn't say a single lie throughout all that, or his team is not making up any of that, right? These countries cannot handle. So okay, and I told my spouse this, and this is just sheer basic logic on the reality of the economy, right? Who own? Here, just so it's not looking like I'm what. So let's do this. So, and this is going to be the general theory in the world. This is just in North America, right? So, this is really, here's the thing. This is seriously the egos have been so drastically blown out of proportion that it's really sad, right? That you even got to explain this, right? So, right, people forget that North America just had to raise the credit limit like what 3 years ago. Everybody seems to forget about that. These motherfuckers was literally on international headline news up there raising the credit limit because America hit the debt ceiling. There was no more credit to go around, so they just poof raised the limit. Right? Here's more money, kind of thing, right? So if the and this is the really, again, this is it's sad. I feel sorry for humanity that I even have to spell this out. Okay, do you really think all your problems are in illegal immigrants and all this, the reason why the country's fucked up and there's crime? Okay, think about this. Who owns all the money in the countries or the world? It's not these countries where these illegal immigrants are coming from. All right. So, and this is why I think Trump is doing an excellent job. I think Trump is right at this point now with this presidential run that I can speak of. Trump is doing the best job that he will definitely be in the top 5 of American presidents for what he did strictly on a logical form. Right? Okay. Like I said, so I'm going to quickly go back to what I said earlier. If anybody is offended, which you already know who's going to be offended by what he said about Europe, Ukraine, or Canada, right? If anybody got truly offended by that, to me, that shows them as outing themselves as a closet racist the whole time, who thought that Trump was only going to focus on them dirty browns. And because it's all those dirty browns' faults. It's all their fault. Their fault. They're the reason why the economy's going to shit in our country. Their reason because they're wasting so much money on them. Blah blah blah. Yeah, money. And I'll say, there is money being wasted on immigration programs and shit like that, right? Anything from welfare to teaching, because every country has to teach their language to immigrants. All these things, it comes out, right? I'm not going to say that's not an issue, but there's a far bigger issue, which who owns all the money in these countries, right? Especially in these richer countries. So where should the focus really be at? Should it be at these legal immigrants, or should it be towards the people who own literally 90% of the money in all the countries? And see, that's what people don't want to see on TV. They don't want to see people who look like them being the problem. They want to see people who look like somebody else being the problem. And like I told my spouse before, the reason why he won that first election was because Trump intentionally targeted the forgotten whites of North America. Trump's initial target was the forgotten whites. He targeted Dan and Steve, those guys who were forgotten by the economy, they were forgotten by hard work equals good pay, they were forgotten by all that, right? That's who his demographic was. Because if you go back and look at it, the higher the educated the person was, the lower they would vote for Trump in his first presidential. I still remember reading seeing that stat that was released by the government because they broke it down by education, and the higher the education went, the less Donald Trump would get voted for. So Trump, his first run was literally targeted towards the forgotten white man in America. Right? That's just a fact. And he got him. He got him on his side, right? Because with the whole get the Mexicans out and all that shit like that. And magically overnight now everybody knows immigration facts because they Googled it. I remember all that shit. Immediately everybody is about anti-immigration, immigration after Donald Trump said it on TV, right? Because again, he targeted that specific group of people because he knew he could, because that would trigger them and he'd get them interested in anything he said after that. Right now, what that group was not ready for was a look on TV and see Trump talking shit about people who look like them. Now you got MSNBC and CNN. Oh, Trump's a big meanie head. We can't do that. What, Trump, why you being so mean, Trump? Trump, don't be. Why you being mean? How dare he? How dare he say that? How dare he say the truth? How dare he says that? No, like, and that's what he did, right? Trump is going to lead. Trump, okay, like I said, the first presidential run was literally just a rage bait run. They call that shit rage bait. It was rage bait. That's all that was. The first presidential run he had to get him in there was complete just rage bait. For the most part, it was rage bait. This time, I'm a complete fan. Now I'm a fan of Donald Trump. I'm a complete fan of Trump. Right? The bad side about Trump is people people on average are not smart enough to handle hearing shit like that. What he'll say and how he'll say it on TV. And I was speaking with a friend of mine. His name's John. Very common name, so you never find him. If he ever sees this, he knows exactly I'm talking about him because he was for Trump, right? And I told him back then the only reason I wouldn't vote for him is because how he talks about Mexicans. Because when somebody like in a position like that gets openly talking about the illegals, they bring their murderers and all that stuff like that. See, there's a lot of dumb motherfuckers who will go out in the world and start blowing up Mexican churches now. Because Trump said it on TV that he's inferring that he doesn't like him. He never said he doesn't like him, but his attitude and demeanor is inferring it, right? So a dumb motherfucker will see that, and it actually ended up happening in the U.S. It happened at least twice where these groups will go around. So now what happened is in America, actually not far where I'm from, in Ohio, out there in Lincoln Heights, was it the KKK, which this is something that most of the rest of the world has no idea about that happens in North America. The KKK held a rally not far from Lincoln Heights, which is a majority black neighborhood. And then the KKK was leaving messages talking about some deport yourself, leave the country, right? Trump triggers that out of dumb motherfuckers, right? He triggers that, and that's why I would never vote for him because of that reason. I'm a fan of what he's doing, but I would never vote for him because people are too dumb to handle him. They're not smart enough. They're not smart enough to hear that, yeah, Europe's pathetic. They're not smart enough. People are not smart enough to read something like this. You know, all we need to see is this title. People are not smart enough to read something like that and then and be like, oh, wow. What is it? Well, why are they pathetic? Well, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. People ain't that smart. They just go, oh, Trump says it's pathetic. Either I completely agree or let's hang him. It's got to be one. It's an extreme because people are emotional. They're stupid. They can't just go, oh, yeah, Europe's pathetic. Yeah, you just come to Europe, come hang out. They can't do that. It's either follow him completely or go outside and hang him and kill him with an axe. People aren't that smart. What's up? I'm planning to visit Prague. How much can I expect to pay for escorts there? And should I use solo escorts or go? I've known a lot of people who would order. Um, they would go on these little. I've known a few people who went on agency sites. I've never done those agency sites, so I'm not a good person to ask. Um, but anybody who I've ever heard who said they've done it, they said they had a good experience with those like with those sites. You can just like order a woman off of kind of thing. Um, they've always said they had a good experience. I've never known one who's and here's the thing. Many now that I think about it, more times than not, when I do speak with somebody who's done that, they were always able to deduce that the woman doesn't actually work for anybody. Like she's actually working independent, but she's posing like she works for somebody, for one reason or another. Usually, so the guy feels like she has protection, so he won't try anything silly with her or something like that. But yeah, but no. To answer your question, I've never done the in call thing. It's just that's just not my style. I don't want her in my house, and where I'm living. I don't want her to know where I live. It's just not my stuff. But you're gonna be probably in a hotel, so it's not really where you live in. But I can answer that because it would be where I live, and I'm just not doing that. Even if I didn't have a baby and a spouse right now, I just never been that type of person to do that. Very rare occasions. Um, I would, but here's the thing. Okay, but to answer the question, how much to spend? Years ago, it was 1,500 crowns. Like back then, I think it was like $70. Um, isn't it shouldn't okay and when I say $70, I'm saying you're gonna get like women of your dreams in North America for $70, 70, $80. Okay, you like okay in Europe, especially in a place like Prague. Some people I've never done it in Germany, but people and I've never seen good ones in Germany, but people tell me there's good ones in Germany. But but the competition in Europe is far higher. The quality in competition is far higher than in America. Um, I would say at absolute max, and I'm talking absolute maximum, $200. And I'm saying, and you're gonna get like for $200, I will guarantee you for 200, unless you fall in some idiotic rabbit hole, for $200 you are gonna get a dream woman in North America for that, like an absolute dream, your choice to pick your dream woman for 200 at max. And it's probably not even gonna be that. It's not probably not even gonna be if you look around for a bit and all that, or it also depends on how long you want her and all that stuff like that. But especially if you go to the brothel, it'd be like it's definitely gonna be well. You gotta pay an entry fee. So in total, depends on how many entry fees you get because you get like a discount or whatever. But again, okay, you're not gonna spend any more than $200 for one woman. But and then on top of that $200 is going to, like I said, is going to get you dream women. Okay. When I was in Ireland, I ended up going to a strip club, and and the guy I was with, he just immediately said like yeah, these women wouldn't even make it through the front door in the brothel in Prague, but in Ireland they can make it. And not to say like Ireland women were ugly. There was actually a lot of good looking women I seen in Ireland, but it's just that Westerner thing, right? Like whereas like strip clubs, these things are. If I had to guess, they're kind of looked down upon, like in America kind of thing. So it's like I think it brings in more of a trashy crowd. Like that's how it is unless you're in specific areas in North America. Generally speaking, strip clubs are usually going to bring in like a trashier type of woman, um, or just like a complete idiot or something like that. Whereas Prague is like almost the opposite. Like you're like, okay, you go to the brothel, like you are guaranteed to be able to fuck a woman of your dreams for, like I said, under $200. On the earlier topic, is it just a college thing? What about other forms of higher education, like trades, vocation, trade? Okay, here, let's say, so Damon, it again, I don't want to say just college and just use it as a blanket statement because there's some dumb motherfuckers in college too. There's dumb motherfuckers, everywhere. Um, And I was telling my spouse this because I was telling my spouse she kind of leans into thinking that I think everybody should just go to college. So I have to always make it very clear. No, I'm not saying everybody has to go to college, but what I'm saying is college has the best chance of like beating all of those mental issues in one go instead of kind of picking it up here and picking it up there because you're doing years in that. Now, it doesn't even have to be trades or vocational training. It could be just like that person could have just got it, right? Um, the hard part, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but the hard part is in the other forms of higher education, you have I've never been in these fields, so I can't speak on them. But from the groups of people that I do know who went to these fields, um, you, I would say you're at high risk for being submerged among people like that. Like it may not be you, but you'll be. There's a high chance you'll be submerged with other people in that, right? It's kind of a similar situation of like I was telling one of my guys I teach at the other bank. I said, he was asking me why most Americans don't leave, and I said, well, because most Americans don't get passports, and then it's the thing like Americans we're pretty much trained to be afraid of anything that's not American unless it's white or Asian, right? Everything else is potential death, robbery, drug, this kind of thing, right? So, or it's Russian and a thug gangster, is gonna kill you and beat you up and and all this stuff like that. So, so the reality of it is like if one person's not afraid to leave, well, then there's a good chance that somebody in their immediate vicinity will be afraid to leave, and they'll say, "Oh, you better not go out there because you should be scared because they're gonna rob you. They look shady. I've heard stories about that country, and so like." So you now and it happened to me before I started leaving. People would tell me not to go here, not to go there, and all that. And I'm going everywhere now, but so it's definitely not a 100% case, but I'd say you have a higher chance of being submerged in it to where you just want to you end up wanting to just be like everybody else you're around. And I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen, but there's a good chance of it happening. Um, yeah. Because here's the thing with college, you don't learn a lot in college, dude. In terms of what the university is going to teach you, you don't learn. You learn very little, right? The subject matter itself is nigh useless in the real world. All those classes that biochem or well now biochem or organic chem these are useful if you go work in the fields, but majority of classes you're going to take in university are completely useless in terms of the subject matter and being there for 2 hours a day or hour and a half a day. Completely useless. That's not where the learning comes from juggling and maintaining it for years while you still got a place to live. You got to have a place to live, somewhere to eat, gas for your car, your bills paid, all that. That's where the learning comes in, that ability to adapt. The ability to adapt for years to make sure that your shit's in order. That's where, in my opinion, where all the learning comes from, where most of your learning is going to come. And then, in my opinion, you're going to learn a lot more once you get out, because now it's like now you have the free time to actually read and actually interpret things how in a comfortable, because nothing about college is comfortable. Nothing about studying university is comfortable because you got to read this and study this. They're going to assign 40 pages you got to read while you got a part-time shift at the donut shop and all that shit, right? And that is not that nothing about university settings are made for learning. There's nothing about that is made to actually learn anything. It's made for you to adapt to give them what they want to hear, but you're not learning anything. I've learned far more outside of college than I ever learned when I was ever in college at any point in time, right? Because once I got out, now I had the free time to actually read what I wanted to read at the speed I wanted to read it at without panicking about a test in 3 weeks that I know I'm probably going to get a D on. And hopefully I could pass the whole course if I just do all my homeworks and all that. Like, all you learn, there's a guy I met from here. He gave me books on John Holt, and John, I think his name is John Holt. John Holt said exactly this, and it's completely true about the education system everywhere. All the student doesn't really learn the material; they just learn how to deceive the teacher. Your primary focus in school is not to learn anything. Your primary focus is to figure out how can you deceive this teacher and to give you a passing grade so you can keep going. Because there was multiple studies that he covers in his books. And I think his name's John Holt. Let me make sure I'm not butchering his name. Yeah, this guy. Yeah, he worked in education. And what's all in check now? Let me change this to English. Oh shit! Why did I change it to English and it changed to a black dude? So what John Holt said, there was another study that he brings up. This guy, he brings up in a book. He goes, oh yeah, he was talking about children in grade school and just how absurd where this comes from. He said, one, the student learn the kids learn at very early ages to not trust the teachers, right? And he observed it, and he says there was either he did or somebody else did an experiment where, what was it? Make sure I say this right so I don't fuck it up. Because I know what it is in my head. I'm trying to think how I'm going to explain it so I don't say it in a confusing way. He took, for example, he took like a group of fourth graders, right? Fourth graders who were struggling with fourth grade level whatever, right? And these kids were barely passing fourth grade level stuff. And he was able to deduce that it wasn't, the kids were not struggling with fourth grade. They were struggling in preparing for the teacher to trying to trick them on the assignments, meaning making questions sound ridiculously overcomplicated for no reason. You know, just being incredibly just the teachers were just that's what it was. The children had learned to not trust the teachers because the teachers, because at this point all the teachers did was just seemingly try to just trick them to the point where kids were just getting like the most basic of questions wrong because because the kids were now trained to overthink and be afraid of what the teacher, so the kids wouldn't even trust themselves on what the teachers would ask them because all the teachers did was train them to be confused, right? And the way he was able to prove this was he gave I think it was like fourth grade kids. He gave the fourth grade kids like a fourth grade test, and they all barely passed it. And then he gave them like a sixth grader test, but just directly asked the questions, no games, and they passed it with flying colors. You see, so it had nothing to do with the fourth grade being stuck in the fourth grade. These are asshole teachers trying to overcomplicate shit. It has nothing to do with the subject matter. And that's why I said earlier, even when it comes to universities, the subject matter is you don't learn anything in universities. What you figure out how to do is to deceive the teacher because the teacher's trying to deceive you. So you're trying to figure out all school is on a whole is a tug of war of who can deceive and trick who the best. That's all. For the vast majority of people, that's what it will be, right? He had like two or three really good books, man. I highly recommend this dude, John Holt. This dude was great. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. The professor teach the basics, but the test will be information that she never covered. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Or they give you I remember when I was in biochemistry, man, my organic chemistry teacher was a great, like he already knew, that dude literally gave us the answers like a week before the test. But he said we just couldn't bring the answers into test. He just told us that he said, look, blah 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 A or Zwitter ion, blah 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 C compound protein, blah 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 blah. Like he just because he wasn't on that stupid shit either. But I had a biochemistry teacher who was a great guy to talk to and hang out with. But he was one of them dudes you can tell who like failed in real life, so he had to go back and teach because he couldn't go out there and do kind of thing. Um, and I mean his tests were so bad. You pretty much learned after the second test that the study guide was a complete joke. Like, just don't even look at it. It was a don't. It's not even worth trying to look at it because it is worthless. And it had gotten so bad. I remember it was probably like the fourth or fifth test. It was coming up, and the entire class started complaining. And we all literally, like, the whole course was us just like jumping on him, saying, like, yeah, like this is just ridiculous. We don't know what this is. And he tried to like protect his side of the argument, but nobody was having it. Like the whole class jumped on him for that. I still remember that. And so the next test, he let us cheat. He just pretended like he had to go out the room because he knew we would just pull out our phones and just Google everything or something like that, or laptop or something like that. And that's what everybody did. Everybody just cheated on the next test after that because it was horrible. Like there was no link in anything we read or studied and anything that was on that test. Absolutely none. Right? Like there was none. There was none. The only way you could have passed this course legitimately was you would already have to know biochemistry like on your own before you walked in there. That was the only way you could have passed it. And there's a lot of university professors getting away with that. There's a lot of college professors getting away with that lazy bullshit because their whole thing is, well, students have to work harder to get a good grade, and it's okay, right? But if every student walked in there kept getting A's, people, the universities will stand like, wait a minute, like kids you gotta make something harder because everybody can't do well, kind of thing. And then there's a lot of university professors getting away with that shit. There's a lot of them getting away with that because of that, because that general stupid dumb theory. Well, you gotta do hard work to get that's stupid ass philosophy. Well, it's got to be hard work to and nothing represents hard work more than failure. Now, I'm not saying it's bad to fail, but don't intentionally, sabotage people into failing and then have an excuse of, well, you got to work harder to be with me. No, that doesn't work. That's not reality. And I'm glad Trump shook up that education system. I'm glad. I don't care. Here's the thing. At this point, I don't even care if Trump is going to do something that is terrible. The fact that Trump is going in there and shaking these fields up, I love it. I will wear a Trump shirt now. The fact that he had the courage to go in there and just shake them. Go in there and shake them up. Go in there and shake up that government spending. Shake up that VA. Just shake them up. Make them a little nervous. Because, see, the reason why I'm a fan of Trump for that is because, see, these jobs were those safe haven jobs. The jobs that he's going up in there and shaking up, see, those are jobs that were safe havens. You knew when you got that job, there was very little that can fire you. And Trump said, not today. We gonna shake this up. Y'all, okay, get out, goodbye. Now, I don't want people to lose their jobs, but they needed that. Everything Trump is doing, they needed that shit. Those departments needed it. Just shake them up. I don't care if it's the wrong shit. Just let them know that, yeah, you are not invincible anymore. Ta-ta. Figure it out. You're not invincible. He had to send a message to them motherfuckers. Let them know. Because there was nobody to let them know before. They literally did whatever they wanted. Like the VA, they just did whatever they wanted. They just, did whatever shake them up. get him nervous. I'm glad he did it. I'm happy. Graduated from NC State. Unless you're in the College of Engineering, Computer Science, Accounting, Biotech, Math, and Physics, the rest of the majors were high school level. NC. Oh, I have no idea about NC State, but yeah. Actually, the more I think about it, most people don't get past high school mentality. Yeah, college undergrad is high school 2.0. I was bad in high school. My grades in high school. Look, I did so bad in high school, and my spouse she forgets I tell these stories sometimes. Like I did so bad. Like because I think I think because now she sees the degrees and all that. So she and she sees that I do read a lot on my own, and now I'm a teacher, so that's adding to it. But she I've always been very open about my academic past. I failed all but two classes my first year of high school, and I've always been very open about my academic past. I'm never going to hide it. I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. I will tell you anything you want to know about my academic past. Um, I was never good. I was never a good student in terms of grades. I was always average, below average, right? And when I started ninth grade, the only classes I passed was gym and uh, it was one other course because I only had 1.5 credits for the entire year, my ninth grade year, right? And so it was two classes. I can't remember what the other class was, but I know one was gym, and that was like half a credit. And I remember at the end of that year, they told me that I was gonna have to repeat the whole grade. And I remember I went down to I was so ashamed and like so because I grew up in the mentality that if you failed a grade, dude, like you were the worst person on earth to fail a grade, to sit through a whole nother year of school. So I went to the counselor's office, and her name was Miss Gerber, and she was cool. Miss Gerber was cool. She was a short, fat woman, but she was cool. I always liked Miss Gerber, and and I said, look, is there anything I could do to get out? And I remember she was, look, you have to repeat because you failed too many classes. And I said, and I kept going and I kept asking her, and she said, well, okay, I'll sit down and count it. And she counted. She goes, okay, look, I have good news. If you literally do not fail one more class for the next 3 years, you can graduate on time. And I said, okay, I can do that. But she said, but you also have to go to summer school every year and pass every class in summer school for the next 3 years. For the next, yeah, like what, 1, 2, yeah, 3 years. And then then you will officially, literally pass exactly the amount of credits you need to not have to do another year. My life always comes down to this shit, these do or die moments. And you know what? And my dad. And here's the thing, like because my dad, he wasn't even on it. He knew I had bad grades, but he didn't push me to go in there and figure it out. Like that was all on me to figure out. Like nobody else there was no other involvement in that. So and you know what I did? That's what I did. I went to summer school that year, and I walked to summer school. It wasn't a terribly long walk, but it was a long walk for me. I would call it a long walk. And I walked to summer school, and I did it. I did it. I did it. And every year I went to summer school and passed all the summer school courses, and throughout the regular school year I passed all the regular school year courses, and I did that for 3 years. I never had a summer off in high school because I was in summer school the whole time. So my grades were so bad, I had no hope of getting into university. Like, because I remember I did like because when I hit like 18, other friends they started going off to college, and like so my mom she was the one like I said earlier my mom was the one who was in colleges and all that, but my dad's side of the family didn't do any of that. So when my mom died, like there was nobody there to really tell me what to do after high school, right? And my dad, because my dad's side of the family had no knowledge of college, nothing like that. No connections, nothing like that. So when I turned 18, I just worked little odd jobs, and all my friends started going off to college. So I got left behind, and 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 I'll be real with you. The only reason, okay, no. So the first thing that had the first way the first when I first went to college, I was just telling my spouse this. Well, I told this before too. I was working at a meat packing plant, which sounds gay as fuck. I was working at a not meat pack, but it was like a meat preparation plant, not a meat packing. It was like a prep. You had to put the meat in this big ass grinder and push this like, I think it was like a 150 pound, or it was a big uh basket of like grinded beef. You had to push all the way across the. So I worked in factories, warehouses. I've worked in factories welding struts. I've done all that shitty work, dude. I remember you used to have to like get the pitchfork and like grab the meat down, and it was terrible. You had to weigh it, and it's probably a really big reason why my back's fucked up even more now, because I was doing back breaking work. And I remember because another friend of mine, he was like me. His mother, he was raised by a single mother, and she's still working in the mall, right? Which I'm not roasting her, but it's just the reality. She's still working in the mall. Um, and so he got a job there at the meat factory, and he got me a job working with him at the meat factory, right? So I was in there, with him, with the pitchfork, pulling the meat down, pushing this big ass meat all day long is what you did, right? Now the good thing is it was cool, because you got to keep it cool because it's meat in there, right? So the good part was it was cool. It wasn't hot inside. Because I've had some hot factory jobs, but this was you wouldn't, I mean, you could probably sweat a little bit just because of strenuous activity, but you wouldn't get like hot for too long, kind of thing. And I remember me and him, his name, we call him Lavelle, because Lavelle's not his first name, so I could say his name. His name's Lavelle. Lavelle got me the job in there, right? And we were going to lunch one day, and I was standing next to him, and there was a woman from the office area. She came in there, and she had looked at me and made eye contact with me, and and it sounds like I'm making this up in a movie, but this is seriously what happened. She looks at me and she goes, "You don't belong here. Come with me." Like some Matrix shit. You know what I mean? Like some Trinity and Neo shit. Like, you know what I mean? And I was the one. Like, she looked at me and she goes, "You don't belong here. Come with me." Right? Just like that. And I remember I looked at Lavelle, because Lavelle was taller than everybody's taller than me. I looked at Lavelle, and he was just like, "I don't know, man," because she was from the office part, right? And so I just took the chance. Like, she just started walking. Like, she didn't wait for me to come walk with her or anything. She just said, "You don't belong here, come with me," and just started walking. So I was like, "What do I do?" So I just followed her, right? Because it was my lunch break, but I just didn't know what to do. So I followed her down. I followed her and went down to the office. It was downstairs. And I remember, and you remember, I got all the meat factory shit, like the fucking coat and the fucking beard, even though I didn't have a beard, and the fucking helmet and the gloves and all. I had all that shit on, right? And I remember she just asked me, like, "Well, like, what do you like to do?" And I mean, I didn't know, right? I mean, I'm fucking 18 doing this kind of work. Is clear I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right? She goes, "What do you like to do?" I said, "Play video games, work on computers. I don't know." And she goes, "Well, what would you do if you had a choice?" And blah blah. And she just kind of kept asking me, "What do what you got to know what you want to do?" Blah blah. And she just kept asking me these questions. I didn't know how to answer. Right? I didn't even know who the fuck she was. I was ready to go eat fucking eggs in the cafeteria, and now I'm down here talking to some stranger what I want to do with my life. I don't know what to say. And so, I remember she pulled out a piece of paper, and it was an application to go to Central State University. And she said, "Look, just fill this out. Don't worry about the application fee. I'll pay it." Right? And so I filled it out. No, I think she told me she told me to take it home and fill it out. And she said, "Don't worry about the application fee. I'll pay it. Don't worry about it." And I did. I went home. I filled it out, and I brought it back to her. Like I didn't know what, dude. I was so lost and confused. I didn't know. I just did it, and I ended up going to Central State University. That was how I got into college the first time, right? Um, Now I tell my spouse that, and see, this is the part that like, this is why I have a hard time talking to my spouse about like the like real life and doing things, because she took that story like, oh wow, I wish somebody would do that for me. Well, you had somebody come and do it for you, and I had to tell her like, no, look, I could have chose to never go back and do it. I could have chose to make up an excuse not to follow us at office. I could have said, oh, well, I want to pay my phone bill, or I want to pay my car note, so I got to keep working. And any of that could have, derailed all of that. But yeah, that's how I went to college the first time. And I didn't flunk out, but I couldn't go more than one semester because I just didn't have any money, and I was still under my dad's income, and he made too much for me to get enough financial aid for the next semester. So I literally did like one semester on campus, and then I went back home. So I went back home and worked little odd jobs again. It was always easy for me to find jobs. I worked a bunch of odd jobs for about another year, and then I said, I'm going to try college. Wait. No. Next, what happened was I got it. I ended up working at where I learned how to build computers. I worked at Dell, and I had a bunch of friends where I learned and they taught me how to build computers when I worked at Dell, and that's why I know how to build computers now. Well, maybe not with modern parts because I don't even recognize those new NVMe drives. I don't even recognize that shit anymore. And then while I had that job at Dell, that was when I got my next apartment in Dayton. I kept going back to Dayton, and then I went to community college the first time. Did terrible, right? Because I just was not ready for college at all. And then I did the Dell job ended up giving out, but I ended up getting rehired. But I went to another department. I hated it so bad I just never went back to Dell. And I went back home to my dad's house. And then the next time I left, it was literally just on a whim. I said, I'm going to try Sinclair, the community college, one more time, just so I can get the financial aid check to pay my car note at the time, right? That was when they was. I remember the financial aid checks was gonna be like, they were like $700. And that's the only reason why I went to college that time, was literally just to get the financial aid checks so I could pay my car note. I had no intention on graduating. Let me be very clear about that. I had no intention on graduating when I went. I wanted to go just to get them little quick checks and then bounce. Well, what ended up happening was I ended up actually passing courses. Now, when I was passing courses, I was not taking college level courses. I was taking those high school, those courses that would prepare you for college level courses, right? They were called developmental courses, and I actually ended up starting to pass them. This was after I went through the whole homeless. I was living in homeless shelters and all that. So a few things happened at the same time. One was I was living in the homeless shelter. And when I went to the homeless shelter, that's when I got that reality check of life. Right? Like when I had that reality check of like, when you go in a homeless shelter to go sleep, that is that for me, that was the biggest reality check of life, cuz now I know how bad shit can get, in life. I know that that's waiting there for me. Right? I know what is waiting for me if I fuck up in life. And they get worse in a homeless shelter. But and that was the homeless shelter was enough. And so that happened. Um, that was probably that was the push I needed to say, okay, like I have to make this work. I have to get this degree. I picked biotechnology. I didn't even know what biotechnology was. I just picked it because it sounded like something weird. I legitimately didn't even know what it was when I picked the degree. It was just some wild sounding shit. So I ended up in the program. And so that kind of worked out because the biotech program was one of those programs where okay, so when you go to college, you can pretty much take any course you want any semester and it's fine. Well, in the biotech program at this school, if you failed a course, you had to wait a whole nother year to retake that course because you couldn't skip courses. You had to take them in a certain order. And they only offer those courses one time per year. So it was like that lit a fire under me, like, okay, I got to make this work. Study, cheat, whatever, I gotta pass. Right. Two, it was that reality. Okay, look, this is a homeless shelter, dude. This life is waiting for me. Especially if because my mom's already dead. If my dad dies, I'm alone in the world, right? And that life is waiting for me down there. I remember that life down there, fucking using your clothes as a pillow so nobody steals your clothes. Waiting in them long lines with that food tray. I still remember waiting in the line with the food tray with the homeless, right? And waiting in line for your turn to go up there and get you some slop on a good day. Because bad days you get stale bread and butter that don't even taste like butter, right? So on a good day you get some old slop that was just boiled and served to you, right? That's a good day, right? I remember all that. I remember that and standing in line with them old motherfuckers, smelly motherfuckers, people busting out, getting into fights, people fucked up. I remember all that shit, dude. Like it was yesterday. I remember that very fucking clear, right? That life is always there. Mm. Because that was another awakening part. I remember when I was living in there and I needed some clothes, right? And I always liked to dress nice, even back then. I always liked to wear like blazers and stuff like that. And I remember because I just had no money, so I wasn't even familiar with the thrift stores back then or anything. So I started going to the thrift stores, and I was even too scared to even go look at the suits because I just figured they'd be expensive. But this is a real moment of awakening, right? When I was homeless and going thrift stores, that's when it became clear to me that the quality of clothes has very little to do with money. That's the person. Because I went in there and them suits were the same prices as like the junk that you see, homeless people wearing, right? So why didn't they choose to go in there and buy and because their bodies were bigger than mine, so they would look good in this. They don't need the suits tailored enough. So why didn't they go in there and just wear a suit, right? And then go try to find a job off of that. And that's when it became very clear to me, another way, like how I was saying earlier about the mentality, the culture. It's not the money, it's the person. Because I went in there and bought that shit. And I was home. I ain't asked my dad for a dime that whole time. He never knew I was in the homeless shelter. I went out on my own and did that shit. My dad never gave me a dime the entire time. Literally and if you ask him to this day, he was say I had no idea. He had no idea I was in there. But I learned a lot of things. Like I said, the cut of clothes, the courage, the ambition to do things ain't got nothing to do with okay, sometimes it does, but these are very rare cases. In most cases it's the person. And that's when I learned it in there. It's the person. The style of clothes, what you picking, what you want to wear, the fit, all that. Ain't it? No. It's not from some outside source. Oh, woe is me. I'm fucked up. Oh, woe is me. I mean, everybody gets a little bit of an excuse of woe is me, but to be weighed down by it, that's a different situation. That's the person. I remember going to school like hungry, right? Because in the mornings when you wake up in a home, so how this homeless shelter worked was you you um you Yeah, I'm gonna touch on that, JM, too. Yeah, and I agree with you 1,000%. I'm gonna touch on that. I'm gonna touch on that because I agree with you 1,000%. I remember because in the morning when you wake up, we always have some type of like stale muffins to give you because you had to leave by like 7 a.m. And I would just go to school. Like I remember, I would go park in the school parking lot. It'd still be dark outside. I'd just be reading one of those biotech books and like under a street light. And I just and back in those years, I used to just hope that the school was giving out free food because sometimes they'd give out like free candy or something like that, and like my whole day would just be pretty much like hoping I would if I just walk down another hallway in a building, somebody's get handing out like a free like candy bar or something, right? Because I just had no money. And then on top of that, it was a food desert, right? So like the cheapest thing I ended up finding was fucking like expensive ramen noodles at CVS down the street because there was no legit grocery stores nearby or anything like that. It was a food desert. There was no fresh fruits, none of that. You couldn't find any of that. Um, because the food in the cafeteria was so expensive. I remember a slice of pizza back then was like $3.70. That might as well should have been $1,000,000 because I just did not have that much money for a piece of pizza. But anyway, back to JM says a lot of people in poverty for so long mentally. Yeah, yeah. Now what I say is JM. What I learned was this because it sounds like I'm kind of like being a bit snobbish. What I say is this. Um, Especially as a man, when you get older, it's okay when you're younger. But a big mistake that I see, because women can always just fuck and get a free bed or, some free food or something like that. So women just don't count. Okay. Men can't. So as a man, where I see a lot of men fuck up is this. Especially nowadays, there's no excuse. Maybe 25 years ago, there was, the technology wasn't there. But nowadays, there is no excuse. As a man, you have to keep something going. Something. I don't care what it is. Now, my thing was I was in college, right? I had college and I had that to keep going, to give me some hope, to give me something to focus on, to think about. That hope is the important part, right? Now, maybe it's not college. Maybe you spend 6 hours a day drawing, or I don't know, you can program. Now that everybody can have a smartphone, you can learn anything, at any time, virtually anything at any time in some form, right? My thing is, as a man, you have to keep something. Okay, especially when you're down and out and fucked up. It's okay to be depressed. I'm not saying it's not okay to be depressed, but you have to have something. At some point, you have to wake up and have to have something you can grab onto. Because once you end up on this whole like aimless direction, especially as a man, that is where how men end up, like what JM saying, because you're in poverty, but you're in poverty with no sense of hope. You have to have something you can hope on, that you can actually go back and not just sit there and daydream and hope on. Like, I hope I win $1,000,000 in the lottery, but hope in a sense of, yeah, I'm gonna keep showing up to anywhere and applying for something, or I'm gonna keep going and working on something. I'm gonna keep going here and studying something. I have to keep doing something, because here's the thing: once you shut down in that poverty and you hang out with other motherfuckers who are stuck in poverty, now there's nothing there but more poverty. Right? Now, because now all your connections will be in poverty. Your connections will be in poverty, self-wallowing, self-defeat, and now there's no way out. Right? You have to keep getting out there and doing something that will at least give you the chance to get in the room with other people that are doing something in life. What they call this? Social, what's that shit called? Equity. So it's called social equity. I think that's what it's called. Social equity. You need that social equity in life. This is what you need. Uh, no. Wait. No. What's it called? Fuck. Something like social value or something like that. Now, this is not it. What I'm thinking of is like, okay, for example, some people may fuck with you, but just because you wear a certain cut of clothing, right? Some people will fuck with you because you got on a certain pair of shoes. Some people will fuck with you because you speak a certain way, because you got a certain education, because you got an education from a certain school. These, I can't think of the right word I'm thinking. I can't think of the right thing I'm saying, but all these things have an influence on your ability to dig out or dig up into a better situation. Yeah, networking. Yeah, long story short, in networking. But there was a specific, it was social something, social quality. I can't think of the name. Oh shit! I can't think of what it is. I can't. And as soon as I click off this live stream, I'll remember exactly what it is. But yeah, but hold like there's nothing wrong with being poor. There's nothing wrong with being poor. The only thing that's wrong is when you end up poor and then there's nothing to grab onto at all. So this is why I always tell people, like, and I always just say it before, if you get a hobby, get hobbies that you can maintain with little to no money, something that you can still grab onto. Because one of my friends, he most if not all my friends are in that higher formal education or graduated from that. Most of my male friends are, and this guy's no exception. He, because I remember when we were both poor, and now he's going to country clubs, and he's playing golf and all that shit. He got into golf and all that, and I'm afraid for him because I don't want him to put his personality and all that into them golf clubs, because he fuck around and lose that job. Now he can't maintain them golf clubs, and them country club those country clubs ain't gonna let him in no more. So you don't like, and I always like, my thing is, don't ever put your identity in your success, because that's never a good thing to put your identity into that success. Like I said, my dad has two of my degrees now. I don't even know where the other two are. I think one of them got sent to my ex-wife's house, and I don't talk to her. So I mean, look, I got the transcript, so it don't matter. But I don't even know. I didn't even know my dad had those other two degrees. I didn't even know he kept them. I knew when I graduated the first time that as soon as I seen, I still remember holding that degree. Right? Remember, at this point in my life, I thought college was for the gods. I didn't think I could have graduated from college, right? And when I finally made it and I have this degree in my hand, right? I didn't feel any of that happiness that I thought I would. Any of the happiness that you think you feel and all that, for me, nothing. If any, like, I immediately, the first thing I thought when I held that degree in my hand was, I want to throw it in the trash, because I don't want to put my identity in this piece of paper. So I remember I drove down to my dad's house, and I told him I was going to flush it down the toilet so he can keep it if he wants. And he ended up keeping it because I didn't even want it at that point. It was one of those weird, like, Wizard of Oz, like, it was always in me the whole time kind of thing. Like, it was one of those realizations. There was no sense of happiness or completion or anything like that. I had no feeling, nothing. There was nothing. There was no sense of wanting to party or drink or have fun or do any of none of that. That's movie bullshit. I never felt any of that. The second degree, I never went to graduation, because they send you emails when it's time to. So here's the thing: for those of you who never went to college, at least how it used to work when I was actively, like, at a brick and mortar school, when I was in America, How it works is when you graduate, well, first you have to when it's the upcoming term to graduate, it's up to you to know you have all the credits, and then you have to actually apply to graduate, right? Let me think. I'm trying to think. Remember back because this was like 10 years ago now. The first degree. Um, you have to apply to graduate. Yeah, and then you had to go. And so yeah, so when you apply, we had to go to the bookstore to get our cap and gown. That's what it was. You had to go to the bookstore to get the cap and gown. I think it was like $90 or something like that for the cap and gown. I can't remember exactly. And then God, I can't remember. I just remember we went to the stadium because that's where the graduation was held. And then at the graduation, college graduation is a completely different thing from high school graduation. Because when you graduate high school, you're graduating with a group of people, and all of you have at least seen each other before. Like you're familiar with everybody you graduate with in high school, right? College is a completely different thing. When you graduate college and then you go sit down in that area where you graduate people, you will not know any of these people. You've never seen these people before in your life, right? Never. At both the graduations, I went to two of my graduations. At both of them, when I sat down, I did not recognize anybody sitting near me at both of the two graduations that I did go to. And then on top of that, they call your name so fast you don't even know what the hell. They just say, "Okay, walk here, shake their hand, and walk off the stage." Like, and they just be like, "Yeah, Sarah Jones, Derek Johnson, and y'all just like you mean like y'all just walking like you don't even know what the hell's going on. You just looking for people to point you in a direction. Okay, okay, go this way. Okay, and you just kind of following everybody. Everybody's walking fast, and you walking through the. You just walk up there and then shake their hand, take a picture, and walk off. And you don't even get the degree at the time. You just get that little book. They just give you a book and they give you some like bullshit paper inside the book or something. I can't remember now. And you just walk off and that's it, right? It was really a waste of time. I would never go there. Whenever I graduate again, I'm never going again because it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. The actual graduation is a waste of time. Can you talk about outgrowing people's preconceived expectations for you? Wow. I haven't even thought about something like that in a long time. I don't honestly, the only thing I can say about that flick is the only thing I could say about this. I mean, I think I just kind of handled it naturally the right way. I just didn't listen to anybody else and just focused on what I was trying to do. And then next thing you know, once you get out of like you'll never feel it once you work out your way out of it. It's like once you work your way out of it, people kind of look at you like, "Oh, you did it," kind of thing. And then now you almost be put on a pedestal to them once you outgrow that expectation. Something I've struggled with over the last couple of years. Okay, then it could be expectations of you going to college. Some people may want you to go to college, maybe you don't want to go. Um, Again, my thing is this. My thing, I can't. I'm not a good person to ask this because I never really dealt with that. I don't think I've ever dealt with it with an awareness. I do remember. I guess you can maybe call this an expectation. There was a girl I had wanted to date, and I still remember this girl. Um, when I worked at a life insurance company in the mailroom, right? And there was this real cute girl who worked an office job in a life insurance company. And she was, I just thought she was really cute, man. And I wanted to date her, and she just, of course, like blew me off. I can't remember what, but she was friends with my female cousin who got me the job in the life insurance. It was a corporate building. Well, I remember when we would have like family get-togethers, like the concept of college on my dad's side of family is like this. It's almost like a yeah right kind of thing, Or yeah, I hear you. You're going to college. I hear you. Well, hit them books, and then that's it, right? There's no real deeper knowledge of these things in my dad's side of the family. So every year, um, if I even said the word graduate, it would almost be like this: when you graduating, almost to say like you're never gonna do it, or you're not going to a real school because it was community college. I remember hearing all these things, right? So when over the years, when it finally hit to where I actually started to to complete these things, it some relatives never even, very rarely if ever, even talk to me after that, because I think some of them do remember how they kind of made fun, almost like it would be, what's the word, not sarcastic, condescending about it. Very few even, especially now I'm living in Europe, like that's just a big jump. And then I did the military thing and all that. That was just complete jump from that mentality, that culture. Well, another funny part what happened was, remember the girl I told you that was cute? Uh, the female cousin. I don't even think she even remembers doing this. She comes down and she goes, this is after I graduated. She goes, "Hey, remember that cute?" Her name was like Deandra or something like that. I can't remember her name. And she goes, "Yeah, yeah, she's single now." I'm like, "Oh yeah, now she's single now. Like after I graduated from college, now she, now I'm acceptable to date her." And like I would never date that piece of shit because now she's single after I graduated from college, right? So maybe that can answer you. And that's probably a poor explanation, but like the kind of that expectation, like I'm just gonna just flunk out of college and never do anything, kind of thing. Um, that was my ex. I think that was kind of what I was expected to do. Was not really do much, and then I end up pretty much just like just completely going over like everyone's head of possibility, kind of thing. And like I said, there's some family members never came around, or very rarely didn't speak to me anywhere near as much anymore. There was definitely a shift, friends and family. There was definitely a shift. And now here's the thing. Now the friends of mine who did go off to college, right? The friends of mine who did go off to college and they succeeded, we had the talk, right? And every time it was the same talk. That they said, "Wendell, I didn't think you was gonna make it." They just flat out told me, like, I didn't think I thought you was gonna be stuck in Cincinnati for the rest of your life, because they seen what happened to me like growing up and all that. I still remember one of my good friends right now. He is a director at University of Cincinnati, and I still remember we sat down and had a talk. He genuinely thought, like he said, "I didn't think you was gonna make it." He's like, he just he has 3 kids now. We both did bad our ninth grade year. He's a director out there now. I'm not gonna say it. His name's very specific, so you'll easily find him. But he's a director out there. I've seen his LinkedIn profile and all that shit. He's not lying on any of it. He's telling the truth. He's yeah, out there doing that. Because here's the thing, because his parents did do the college thing. Both of his parents did it, right? And see, all these little things, and I'm not trying to like make fun of my dad or dad's side of the family, but these are the differences that I'm seeing in the two different walks of life. So like, both of his parents were into education in some form, right? So I still remember when we were like 16, 17, his parents had him going out, hanging out in dentist offices, had him going out to these professions to see what he wanted to do in college, right? Because I asked, I'd be like, "Hey man, you want to go play basketball?" He goes, "No, I got to go to my parents want me to go sit at a dentist office to go just to watch them to see if I want to do this in college or not." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And that was I didn't give him much thought at 16. Like right now my family, like, no, that I wasn't doing any of that. Right? They was preparing to see. These are the differences, and this is why now, like now, looking back on anything, I would tell a man, if your kids being educated is important for you, find a woman who graduated from university. Not just went, but graduated, right? Because she's gonna know what to do, and they'll and it'll be easier for you two to see eye to eye on it, and you can actually converse about it and the intricacies about doing it versus like say for example with me and my spouse, I'm like, yo, like my son's going to school. I already set up this that for him. Like she has no input to put in because she doesn't know what to put in because she never went that path, right? She only knows the path of working, and I'm not trying to bash her, but it's the reality of it. She only knows the path of working menial jobs. So she'll know how to get a little quick job at Walmart or some shit like that. But anything bigger, she doesn't know what to do, right? So she's not gonna know what to do with my son, right? So I'm gonna have so in that reality, unless we get lucky and he's just into university and he meets friends that get him into it, the reality of the situation, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be the one that's gonna have to push him because he's gonna run back to mom because mommy's gonna give him whatever he wants, and I'm gonna have to be the one that's gonna say nope and be the fucking evil bad guy because and she's gonna want to pleasure him however she feels she can. Oh, sweetheart, yeah, so it's gonna be this massive. I already know it's gonna be a massive combative situation, right? So looking back, or if it like okay now I would tell any guy now if education is important for you and you want your kids to be educated, go find a woman who graduated from college. Don't worry about her having student loan debt and all that because you can figure that out. All right, go find a woman who graduated. If you value having your kids prepared for life and education is a big part of that, find a woman who graduated from college because those talks will be 1,000 times easier. You ain't gonna have to deal with none of those mental issues. Well, I mean, everybody's gonna have some mental issue, but she's gonna at least have some understanding on what to do. Just because she's young and pretty and never went to college, I mean, that works if as long as you don't have to take her out in the real world. But the second you take her out in the real world, she's gonna be a fucking anchor. She's just gonna be a fucking anchor on the whole thing. I'm telling you, dude. She's gonna be a complete anchor. I say it would be easier the other way around. Let's say if the guy never went to college and the woman did, it'd be easier in that form because mommy is still mommy, but mommy's also telling him to go do this. But if mommy never did it, now he knows he can go to mommy for comfort. Now, there's a good chance mommy's going to just want him to feel comfortable and please him, and then he'll just end up being like a woman and be aimless and dumb as fuck. It's just the reality. The thing is, there are people who do very well because they follow instructions, but in the real world, they fail because they can't self-direct. Yeah, that's true, too, yeah. College graduation is like going to summer camp the first day. Who the fuck is... Yeah. I got laid off and it didn't affect me emotionally or financially because I didn't out my identity. I didn't out my identity as a person in it. Don't even need to work again for a while. Yeah. Yeah, and then here's the thing, JM, I'm not saying okay, just on a psychological level, not biological, on a psychological level, like there will be some sadness that's going to come along with it because it was just in your life for that period of time, right? So I just want to stress to anybody else who's listening is I'm not saying don't be depressed. I'm not saying don't be sad. Like it's okay to be sad. Like that's a part of life. But keep moving. It's okay to sit down for a while and be sad. It's okay. But you have to keep something moving. If not just for distraction. Right? As long as you keep something moving, because you may want to keep something moving and not even want to do it. Right? But the next thing you know, something else happened. Now I gotta do this. And then that's how you slowly work your way. It's like going through a bad breakup. The worst thing people can do when they go through a bad breakup is sit down and just continuously lock themselves away from the world, right? Because there's nothing distracting them from that problem to get them up and moving again.
Find a woman who paid down a lot of their student loan debt during a debt freeze from 2020 to 2024. Word up. The thing about it being backwards is, would a woman even want a guy that never went to college if she did? That, yeah, Damon, yeah, that is, yeah, that's a great point. So like back in the days when my parents met, like it wasn't as big of college wasn't as big as a deal back then. Back then, you only went to college more mostly because you just wanted to go. Like now, well now it's not even really synonymous with money, but there was a time when it developed into that. But yeah, nowadays, would a woman really take a guy seriously who did if she graduated from college but he didn't? Would she truly take him seriously? That is yeah. I'm sure there are women out there who would, but for example, the girlfriend who died, the one who had a heart attack, I took her from her boyfriend, and her boyfriend never went. He was dumb, and she knew it. She would just say, "Yeah, I get it." Like she literally would say, "He's dumb. I know he's dumb." And she left him for me because I was going off to get my bachelor's at that. I had finished the associates, and I was working on another associates while I was going off to get a bachelor's at another school. And so I was above her in school, and then I was older than her too. So she left him and came with me. Because again, it's not the information that you learn from school. It's all the information that you learn along the way on how to maintain and adapt to keep things going, and to think quicker and faster where your emotions are. This or that. That's what college teaches you, and that's what her ex boyfriend could just never. That dude just never he still thought his emotions were everything, and because he's mad now, he's mad, and everybody's got to be a certain way for him and all. He never could think outside of that box. Got to get out them emotions. Now, like I said, college is a safe way to kind of beat all that in one go, but I'm not. That's not the only way to beat it. But I think that's a safe way to beat it, and it's not a guaranteed way. I'm not trying to say that either. But yeah, I just see so much different. But yeah, I would say get a woman who graduated from college. After that, you have to okay, yeah, yeah, that you find a woman who graduated from college. I would say that find a woman who's still younger and graduated. I would not say, now definitely saying this. I would definitely say this. Don't get with an older woman who graduated from college. That's you know that's generally speaking, I wouldn't recommend that. Go get a younger woman who graduated from college. If you're trying to have kids. Now, if you're not trying to have kids and thinking about a future and all that, then it doesn't matter. But if you think about a future and okay, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. See, when you get with a woman who didn't go to college, when you get with a woman who did, and let's say if you did go to college and she didn't go to college, right? She's always going to be self conscious about it, which is always going to make it awkward. All she's going to hear is, "Oh well, he thinks college is everything." If you say like one thing, if you just say the word college, she's gonna take it as, "Oh well, you think college is everything." Like she's gonna jump to this whole terrible conclusion, like overestimating anything you said about, and pretty much projecting her own her own personal issues with it. Looking back in my situation, it really does cause more headaches, and I think the red pill community does have a point with that to an extent, but in my history with it, I would tell you get a woman who graduated college because it's going to make a lot. It's going to make a lot of these conversations easier. I'm got this. I'm trying to some dust on this cologne bottle. Because then okay, the other reason why I say it is because then what tends to happen is, 'cause I'm seeing this now too, it's the same thing when they start to get older, right? And you can say I'm saying this about my spouse too, because she's fallen into this boat, and I'm doing everything I can to get her out of it, but it's just issues. They're starting to get older, right? And their whole life history is working these little menial jobs, and then there's other older women there. So like the culture just ends up just completely filled with just these women who just never did anything with their lives. They're mad about it, they're sad about it, depressed about it, but they're all hanging out with each other. So none of them can ever actually grow. Like, yeah, looking back, I would definitely recommend you get with a woman who went to college, who graduated from college. For sure, 100%. Now the more I'm thinking about it, yeah, I think that was a mistake. But I maybe mentioned before in the past, or anything RedPill say, I would recommend a woman who went to college. Because here's the thing: breakups, divorces, this shit happens, all the time. And it's like the concept of hard work. It's gonna happen. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen anyway. But yeah. Social capital. Is that it? Social capital. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. Yeah, because it's about like the clothes you wear, the shoes you buy, all that shit like that. Yeah, yeah, you're the sum of the people you spend the most time with, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the people you're hanging out with, the majority of people you're hanging out with, that's who what you're gonna turn into. As like I said, like 'cause I remember years ago, when I was living in Cincinnati, that's when I had my wisdom teeth pulled out. And a friend of mine, it's a very common name, so you never find. His name was Mike. It's a very common name. And Mike, we would go and watch. We would go to Bengals games. We would go to hockey games together. It was me, Mike, and another friend named Nick. Very common names. You never find him either. Nick. It was me, Mike, and Nick. We would go to hockey games, football games, just hang out, play video games, whatever. We just hang out. We were inseparable for like a year. Well, he was in that same mentality. Like these guys, we were in that same mentality together. Like college is for the gods, that kind of thing. So let's just drink and go to football games, and that's what our life's gonna be, right? Well, Mike ended up getting a girlfriend, and me and the girlfriend fell out because they did some serious racist shit. Like no quite like that was like just undoubtedly racist kind of thing. So me and his girlfriend, but before we fell out, we were all going to hockey games. So it would be Mike's girlfriend, a few other guys, and they would bring their girlfriends. So it would be all of us, and like some of us had girlfriends, some of us didn't. We would all go to games together. It would be a group of us, right, all the time. And I remember when his girlfriend got a much because he was working at like gas stations the whole time, and she was working as like a waitress or some shit, and like these real jobs. But what happened was she ended up getting a much better job, a much better office job, where they gave her a laptop to go home with and this and that. And I remember when she got that job, that was the end of any calmness of the group, because now she had flipped. I don't know what happened at this time. I think they were low on money because she was pretty much saying how I still remember this. We were outside playing basketball because they had just moved to this beautiful apartment complex, but it was beautiful. They had just moved out there, and it was real. It was kind of far away. We used to have to drive further out, but we would still drive out there to go see them. And and she was talking, and she was sounding like the man in the relationship. She was saying, uh, uh, we like pretty much like we can't afford to go to these games because we got bills to pay. And he was like, I don't care, I want to go see the game. And she was like, no, well, we're not going to eat any food, blah blah blah. And he like the dynamics completely switched because she went out and got a legitimate adult job, and he was still working at these little gas stations and all that. So they end up splitting up. Um, and I remember I would still come down to Ohio or to Cincinnati sometimes, and I knew that one of the gas stations, I knew where he was working at. So sometimes I would go in there and see if he was working. If he worked in there, I would, come in there and say hi to him and this and that. But this was long after we had like went separate ways because I went off to college, I graduated, this and that multiple times. And I was coming back, and I remember one time I came to the gas station. It was a marathon, but it was a big marathon, and because I knew him, some of the other, it was a female, it was a black girl worker. She was working in there, and I was cool with her because she knew that I was cool with him. And I remember she got in. This time Mike wasn't there, so I was just kind of talking to her. And she leans in, she says, "Yeah, Mike doesn't want anybody to know, but he's going to college." Like, she said it like it was like, like Mount Olympus, so don't tell nobody. Right? And I just, I had done, a decent time in college up in Dayton, Ohio, right? But it's that's that mentality, It's not like college is not the norm in these groups, and I'm pretty sure he didn't graduate because that's just what comes out of that mentality. I'm fairly certain because he had spent too much time working in gas stations at this point, and with that crowd of people, I'm not. I hope he graduated, but I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it because that's the crowd that when I hit my immediate adulthood, I was hanging out with, and those guys don't do a lot. They don't do a lot. She was looking at one of them guys in the office and thought she should do better than Mike. Yeah, I remember she was working at a restaurant. She was working, as a waitress, and she was, like, I remember when she had that job, she was understanding. She was, like, she was more feminine and all that. And when she got that better job, she had like that because this was back in the years where working from home was not a thing, and they gave her a laptop to take home and do work on. And that was, in these cultures, that's unheard of, right? Especially back in, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that now. This is unheard of to us in these cultures. Like, she must have hit the big time in our circles, right? And I remember, and that's when she started, like, all that started to change. Because she was trying to, but the thing is, like, see, these circles don't actually go out and get jobs. Okay, see, these jobs are usually short-lived in these cultures because this is another reason why I would still advise a university degree, is because this reason. Okay, you're always going to have a degree. Nobody can ever take that from you. With that being said, the reason why I always vouch for a degree, unless something changes in the future, you never know. Something can. But if you go out here with just like with a high school diploma, and then you go get it like her, like the girl, you go here, you get a good job off of that, right? Well, I'm not gonna say it's for certain, but if you lose that job, you not okay, and then go hand in another resume, like at another job, like that degree is what keeps that lifestyle going. Without that degree, you have a much higher chance of never getting back to that ever again in your life. Now, I mean, the same thing can happen with a degree, but what I'm trying to say is the degree is the backbone to that shit, to that lifestyle. So, like, there was a good enough chance that once she lost that job for whatever reason, See, she was gonna be in far more panic. So this is the other thing. With so many jobs laying off and firing people, right? See, the ones who usually are in far more panic, the reason why they're in a much bigger panic is because okay, many times they know deep down that that was never their walk of life from the beginning. That's where that panic comes from. Now, there's sadness and depression, of course, with everything. And there's a little panic, how long is it going to be before I find a job and all that. But that panic, that sitting up crying in front of a fucking laptop talking about it. See, that sitting up crying in front of a laptop and talking about your life story, getting this job and all that. See, that type of panic comes from deep down knowing that that was never their walk of life from the beginning. And there is nothing about them that deserves it again. More times than not, see, it's the people who did something with their life, whatever. Maybe they were born into it, I don't know. But the people who know that this is their walk of life and they're just going through a hard spell right now, that's a whole different type of panic than a person who just got lucky and won the lottery one time and then lost it. See, there's a difference. Like the same thing is like with money, right? It's a different perspective on money if you just win. If you were working at gas stations your whole life and then you won the lottery one time, versus if you got family money who's always kept that money in their bank account the whole time. Those are two completely different situations. And the same thing with education and getting and having to work for a living, right? These are two completely different types of panic, worldviews, these kind of things, right? For good and bad. There's bad that comes along with it too. There's good and bad on both sides. But there's a culture that comes along with it, and that's the important. The culture is the more important part. You would culturally be better off if your last name was Trump, because you're running with Trumps. That you really don't even need a college education now because your last name is Trump. That is a culture. If you run it, I'm just using Trump as an example. It could be somebody whose name we don't know. But if you're running with a family with that name or with that history and that culture, you don't need no education. You can go study liberal arts. Right? Right. See, these engineering degrees and all that, these engineering degrees and STEM program degrees, that's for those degrees are for poor people. A lot of them. Because those degrees are for people who got to go out and work and make money. See, liberal arts degrees are really meant for people who don't need to go out there and work. Liberal arts degrees are really meant for people who just want to go to college because out their spare time and nothing else. Now it's gotten confused the other way around to where you got women studying women's lib and all this shit, and you got fucking if you even seen the degrees they offer in Europe, Americans would laugh out loud. They are literally. I was in a Ukrainian group on Facebook, and a woman was talking about she was studying like medieval history in college. I'm like, are you fucking serious? medieval. You could even study that in college? I didn't even know that was even possible. Medieval, and she was there, and she was sad because something happened and she couldn't go for the next semester. Like, you don't need to be in that motherfucker one more semester. Get the fuck. What the fuck you do with medieval history? And she was serious. See, the universities, all that has it completely shifted over time, and people are especially women, are completely confused on what college ended up turning into. Right? That is for college. These degrees that pay money, that's for relatively the poor people. Liberal arts, yeah. Yeah, man. Mm. But yeah, back to the original topic. I'm seeing clearly like classes, hierarchies, so much. I'm seeing it a lot more for sure. I think I'm starting to wake back up because I was just kind of on cruise control mentally because having a small baby, but now he's getting bigger, so it's like I think I'm finally starting to wake back up, and I feel like hitting the world again a little bit more because I was just really on cruise control for like about three, because he's going on three now, for about 3 years. So I'm really like waking up, but now I'm going on 40 and waking up, and I'm seeing shit like, in just a different light, and it's easier to just pick up on things and see things. Like for example, like my taste in video games have changed. I'm really into Metroid and Metroidvania games now. I'm really into them. So I'm right now. Actually, before I started this live stream, I was playing the Prince of Persia game because I tried playing that years back. It was alright, but I wasn't on that Metroidvania shit. So now I'm on Metroidvania, and I'm playing that. And I mean, as a Metroidvania, it's okay. It's a pretty simple Metroid game. It's like a mixture of Metroid and Hollow Knight, where it's like combat, but um, Metroid is just like a special game to me now. The 2D, I don't really care for the 3D one because I got on my computer behind me. Metroid Prime 4 just got announced on Nintendo Direct, which people have been waiting on that for a lot. I didn't care for it. I tried Metroid Prime. I didn't care for that. I tried it recently on my Switch. I didn't care for it. It was alright, but I just didn't like the first person. I'm just first person shooter out. I just don't care for first person games. Have you noticed that women only want to work in their 20s and no longer want to work when they're 30s? Oh yeah, okay, JM, because exactly why. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Because women want to feel like that women want to feel like that they can always keep up and contribute to men. Like they want to feel like that until they actually go out there and try it, and then they don't want any more parts of it. Now, some women think they can genuinely keep up with it for a while, but they can't. They're not made for that. They can't do it. And for anybody who says I'm misogynistic or anything like that, I mean, you got a point. But I mean, but look at historically, women could never keep up until men created the technology to allow them to keep up. Right? Before you strip out technology, and women can't. They'll never be. They can't keep up. It is what it is. Now, every now and then you get some honest women like Serena Williams, there was a woman talking about why there's no women who drive Formula One and she just flat out said because women literally just don't have the upper body strength to do it to drive a Formula One car. And she was honestly, she was completely honest about it. It has nothing to do with gender equality or none of that. She was just like, look, this is what it is. Women can't do it. Women just don't have the upper body strength for that. And on top of it, they just don't have the mental to do it day in, day out. Right? So, JM, back to your question. That day in and day out punishment, they're biologically not wired for that. Especially in a world where they're being rated to keep up with men. They don't have that. And there's nothing in human history that would ever prove otherwise. There's no part in human history that would prove otherwise that women have for a day in, day out basis. Right? See, there's a reason why when some barbarians or whatever the fuck came to a new land, they would kill all the men or just make all the men pick up heavy objects and just fuck all the women. There's a reason why it was like that. There's a reason why they didn't go to new villages and make all the women go out there and pick up heavy shit. You know what I mean? and had the men, I don't know, protect the land or something. There's a reason why it was never like that. That never happened. There was throughout human history, there has been no point throughout human history where motherfuckers looked around and said, "Yeah, you know what? We need some real city building shit to happen. Let's go get a bunch of women to go do it for us." You will not find one part in human history where that's ever happened, ever. So you can call me misogynistic, but you'll never find it. You could do what the world's doing to Donald Trump. You could just call me mean for saying it, but prove me wrong. If you look at any point in human history where women were ever put on in any complete position of power or were used in any way to protect land or a country, these were usually either points where the entity was already falling. It was in the progress of falling, it was already falling, or it was like the complete last resort. In at least 95% of cases. And I'm not saying that to be mean, it's just the reality, it's what it is. Women are not built for serious. Okay, women are built to handle serious hard shit when it's within them, like having to push out a baby giving birth, and even then that's gotta suck. But when it comes time to where she has to keep up in the world on day in, day out, strenuous, either physical or mentally, like genuinely strenuous shit, physically or mentally, she can't keep up. So that's why when they start hitting 30, they're tired, like the act is over. Yeah, I'm strong as a man. It's over. They just can't keep that. It's done. You see, being a contributor to humanity is a hobby for women. It's a job for men. It's a hobby is whenever she wants to feel like she's cute and contributing. Okay, women contributing to humanity would be the same thing as like my son thinking he's contributing to the household because he cleaned his room up. Right? It was some little old side shit that he really should have done anyway. and then turn around and be like, "Dad, can you buy me a PlayStation 7? I cleaned my room. Like, it's your room that I'm paying for. And then you want me to go buy you a PlayStation?" That's women. That is exactly what women are on a whole, right? That's what it is. It would be like I said, it would be like you. It was like when I was a kid. Cause like I said, women and children are the same thing. It's like when I was a kid, I lived with my dad, and I was like, "See, I'm being good. I'm cleaning my room, and I swept and mopped the floor. So can you buy me something?" Right? Like, dude, you swept the floor in the room I'm paying for. Like, why am I gonna buy you something else? Right? So now it's like you got to play along to make them feel like they contributing when they not. Right? They just getting in the way even more. So I probably fucked that up. I probably fucked up the floor when I swept it. Right? But now he's got to give me money to make me feel like it because I'm a child. Right? It is what it is. Right? Yeah, job. Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, I'm live, Sarah Wilson. I'm live. No, no. You know what? And that keeps. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, Oliver. I'm gonna let y'all go in a minute. But it's crazy that you bring it because it keeps coming up. And you wanna know why I don't want to play it. One, because I just when I found out it was a PlayStation game. I have a PlayStation emulator. I just for some reason I just have really bad memories of anything 2D on the PlayStation, and I'm just too afraid to try it. And two, I just don't like how he runs. Not that I like the angle he runs at, but something just doesn't look right. But everybody says Symphony of Night is like the best, just like Super Metroid. Super Metroid is the best Metroidvania. Like Hollow Knight was alright. Hollow Knight was real good. I just don't like that dreary shit, that FromSoft kind of environment kind of thing, just that constant depression thing. But Hollow Knight was, I didn't finish it, but Hollow Knight was great. I think I got about halfway through it, and I just kind of like went off to something else. Um, but everybody says Symphony of the Night is like the shit. It's like a mixture of from what I'm seeing, it's like a mixture of like a Souls game and like a Metroidvania. But everybody loves that Symphony of the Night. But I'm afraid to try it because it's a PlayStation. If it had came out on any other console, I wouldn't be afraid to try it. But it's the PlayStation. I just had bad memories from, for some reason. I don't even know why. I don't know why. I'm afraid to try it. But yeah, no, I'm playing the Prince of Persia game. Hey, for a Metroidvania, it is a bit okay. I'm still in the okay. I'm getting to the point now to where I quit where I played it years ago. Because years ago I just was not on Metroidvanias at all. I hated them. Now I like them. I'm a big fan of anything 2D like that with the Metroidvania kind of like you get lost. Like I want to get lost in it kind of thing and figure it out. But years ago, I couldn't touch Metroids. Years ago, I hated them. Thought they were awful. But Super Metroid is definitely Zero Mission was really good. The Metroid Zero Mission was good. Um, Metroid Fusion is like literally just like a directly linear game, and the lore is really good. But I'm just in a mode like, I really want to get lost, and you can't get lost in Metroid Fusion. It tells you, so if you want to play Metroid but you want to like know exactly where to go, play Metroid Fusion. You can't get lost in as long as you just look at the map, you are not going to get lost in Metroid Fusion. Um, but Zero Mission was like a good in the middle zone of like you could still get lost, but it told you where to go. So you knew some kind of way you'd have to get around to like that area. Now Super Metroid doesn't tell you shit. You just like it's just a mess. Like so you have to be on that Metroid wavelength mentally to even figure out where to go because sometimes you just gotta shoot a wall that you just gotta just start shooting everything. But Super Metroid, now that I'm into Metroidvanias, I agree with the people who like Metroid. Super Metroid is still number one, still the best. But as a Metroidvania, and I don't think any other Metroidvanias even come close to that. So Hollow Knight was really good, but Hollow Knight is to me it's like crossing the line of like I don't know, like kind of more of like a combat kind of situation. Like Blasphemous. I did like Blasphemous too. I think I'm gonna try Blasphemous again because I like Blasphemous even when I didn't like Metroidvanias. So I think I'll probably really enjoy Blasphemous now. Now that I'm on that wavelength of figuring out where to go and what to do, so it doesn't take me like 6 fucking hours to figure out how to just open a door kind of thing. But I think I might really enjoy Blasphemous now. You gonna like it? Symphony of the Night, word up. I'm sure I will. Whenever I finally break down and just make myself play it, I'm sure I will like it. I'm just scared. I don't know. Like, 'cause I'm playing Prince of Persia now. And now, so this the Metroidvania Prince of Persia is actually really good. Now I'm like actually paying attention because I didn't even pay attention to the story when I was playing it the first time like years ago on an emulator on my gaming PC. I was wasn't even paying attention to the story, but the story is actually really good. It's actually, from what I'm gathering, I think it's a prequel of the Sands of Time because they keep talking about the Sands, and so you actually play. You play as an immortal, but I don't think he's even technically an immortal. I think he was kind of adopted by the immortals. But then there's gods, immortals, and there's humans, and you're trying to find the actual prince. So you're not even playing as like the you're not the Prince of Persia in this. You're nothing to do with playing as that guy in this game. And I bet if they had advertised it more like that, I think it probably would have did better. Because I think people just seen the black dude on the front and they said, oh, they made the Prince of Persia black now. It's garbage. But if you actually look at the story. It's not a Miles Morales situation where it was just like Miles Morales is just pathetic. I think the Prince of Persia game is much better done because it has nothing. He's not the Prince of Persia. He's not trying to be the Prince of Persia. He is his own thing that just kind of moves like the Prince of Persia because the game, the name, and all that shit. But he has nothing to do with the prince. You're trying to save the prince. Sands of Time is still what they say, the GOAT. The Prince of Persia, Sands of Time is still by far the best game to me. By far, it is still not, the storytelling, how it was executed. It probably didn't age well if you never played it. If you play it like now as your first game, it's probably shitty now. But like when it was out, that was storytelling, everything. That was the Sands of Time was by everybody liked Warrior Within. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for Warrior Within at all because he just wasn't the prince anymore. And then was it two Thrones, the third one? It was really one of those games they really should have stopped it at the Sands of Time. The third one just didn't really have much good purpose or reason for being there. Yeah, man, people love Warrior Within. People loved it. I played Sands of Time so much. I was just addicted to the original Prince. And we said Kakolukia because that was like the code name. So like the way the story. So I'm gonna spoil Prince of Persia 1. The way the story's told is because you gotta remember this game. It was like Kratos. You had no idea who God of War was. Well, Prince of Persia's died off, but God of War, of course, came back. So you had no idea what to expect, really, when you played the game, other than he could rewind time from the commercials. And even then, it was a gamble to even buy it, because it was an unknown, well, it was a relatively unknown game, game name. But the game starts out with you walking into this woman's bedroom, and then you just saying, like, yeah, I've seen time and what time can do and blah, 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 blah. And you don't know who the woman is yet. You don't even know who you are. And then it says like 3 weeks earlier, and like there's a war going on, and this woman with a bunch of other women was taken by you, the prince's father, because I guess you conquered their land or something. I can't remember. And then, long story short, like your father is the king, and some kind of way he found like something that was called the Sands of Time, and nobody knows what it is. And the woman who was captured, she tells you don't open the Sands of Time, right? Don't open that shit. It's fucked up. And you don't listen to her because you think that she's just trying to like, fuck you up because your family trapped her. So you open the Sands of Time, and it just kills everybody, right? Most of the people. And you barely get away and all that shit. And then you go through all these problems, and you go through this adventure with you and a girl, right? The whole game is mostly like you and a girl like teaming up. It was pretty much before that Ellie and Joel shit. This was like before BioShock Infinite. This was like one of the earlier forms of you with somebody else teaming up to get through shit. And there was a part where like you two end up fucked up in the dark, and she's scared, and she says like when she's scared she says Kakolukia, right? So it's like a very specific word that she says, and in the two you talk about it for a while in the cutscene, and you keep going, right? And you're going to replace the Sands of Time to try to fix what was done when you open it. So at the end of the game, it's a sad scene. Like the girl ends up dying, and you're left alone, and you're like fucked up about it because he was starting to fall in love with her. He goes, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna marry." Like when you're off on your own in the game, he talks to himself. And he goes, "Yes, I think I'm gonna marry her. I really like her and all this." Well, she ends up dying, right? She falls and she dies, right? He's fucked up about it, and so at the end of the game, like you're just like the character, the prince is just mentally fucked up. Not like Warrior Within kind of disheveled, but he's like depressed and all this. So you finally get in there and you replace the Sands of Time. Well, when you replace the Sands of Time, like you even know what's going on, and like the whole everything just starts rewinding all the way back. So none of it ever actually happened, right? So the girl you were talking to was the girl who died from the beginning of the game, and and then the prince, he goes like, "Yeah, I know you," and she has no idea who you are because you rewound the sands of time to where none of it even happened. And she's like, she's like, "Yeah, right. Like that was a nice story you told me, but I don't buy it." And so before he leaves, he goes, "Kakalukia," and like walks and like slides down a tree, and then she's like, how the fuck did he know that kind of thing? It was a really beautiful story. You had to play it to get the story. It was a great story. It was by far like the Warrior Within game. It wasn't a bad game. It actually made a lot of good sense in reality because the Dahaka was coming to kill him because if you open the Sands of Time, the Dahaka came in to take you out of the new timeline. I think it was, if I remember correctly. And water was the only thing that can like stop him. Like nothing, you couldn't fight him. Like you would just. I think there was an ending where you could technically fight him, but you really couldn't fight him, and he would just chase you. So the prince never slept for like years after part one because he opened up the Sands of Time, and the Dahaka was coming to kill anybody who opened the Sands of Time. So and he chased him through everywhere. Right. So he couldn't sleep. So that's why he was all disheveled and fucked up in Warrior Within. And he's had a darker voice and all that. Have you heard of Xbox games coming to PlayStation? Yeah, I seen Forza's coming to PlayStation. GTA 6, yeah. Yeah, modern. Hopefully, yeah. Flick, yeah. Modern gaming is terrible. It's so bad. I just went back to my Wii U, or I just played. If I try to find something on Nintendo to play, because like mainstream gaming mostly is pretty bad. Mainstream gaming it's pretty bad. It's the same two or three things over and over. There's nothing really creative. And here's the thing: I was playing like 3DS Mario games on my emulator, and like those games are genuinely great fucking game. Like there was thought put into those games. Even like the modern Mario games, a lot of them are just dog shit. Like modern gaming is in a hard situation. It's in a shitty all of modern gaming has become Pizza Hut and McDonald's. Like it's just mainstream. You know what you're gonna get. There's no change or anything. Modern gaming is just in a bad state. It is. It really is. It really is. Grand Theft Auto is about my only hope for console for well, it's on PC. It's gonna be on PC too, but Grand Theft Auto is about my only hope for console games to have some sense of originality in an unapologetic way. So I think the last is what I said is what's really missing in gaming. It's that unapologetic, being unapologetically you. The only people who really do that in any original way, and I love to criticize them, but FromSoft in the Sony plays in the Sony and Xbox world, FromSoft is about the only group that's still there that made that purge of making everything mainstream. FromSoft is about the only ones I can think of that's on Sony and Xbox in any kind of way. They're the only ones that are still unapologetically themselves. I can't think of any other developer that is making genuinely good for whatever it is, making good stuff that hasn't converted over to just mainstream bullshit. Because most of that shit in the PlayStation stores is garbage or mainstream or the same recycled sports game over the last 15 fucking years. Like the days of genuinely decent to excellent creativity are gone. Now, your only hope of getting any real good creativity on an average level, to me, is Nintendo. To get any type of create, and even in Nintendo's become watered down from what it used to be. I was playing Kirby I've forgotten because I have a Switch. I figured I didn't know I can mod it this whole time, so I modded my Switch so I could just download the games, put on it. I was playing the Kirby Forgotten Land or whatever, the new Kirby, and at first I really liked that, but then I played on the emulator that robot Kirby game. You would not think Kirby and a robot would be fun, but that shit is like the best Kirby game ever. like, like you have if you haven't played it, it was on 3DS, I think. It was a robot. I mean, look, it was a robot Kirby game. That shit is hot. It was like yeah, this one. You would not I would have never thought Kirby sitting in a robot would be something that would be like some genuinely good shit, but that game is amazing. It's Kirby, but, Subnautica is so I can't play Subnautica. It's too good. Subnautica as a situation, it's too good to the point where like I don't like to be in water, and it's just like it's one of them survival games. Subnautica Subnautica hits that rare point where they did too good of a job with the environment to the point where I can't play it. Like Outer Wilds is the same way. That game Outer Wilds where you're in space and you can fly to different planets. Well, there's this one planet that I can't play. I would love to play Outer Wilds, the one where you're like I said you're in space, not the one because there's Outer World and there's Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds, I love that game, but there was one planet because you got to fly to planets, right? And it's actually it's really well like it's kind of that cartoony shit and all that, but it's a very great game. It's the same thing with Subnautica. In Outer Wilds, there was this planet. It was green, right? And it looked like it was just a rock. And I thought I was going to land on it. But the green was clouds. And when you go under the clouds, it's just this horrible storm. And it fucked with me so much. Like, I wasn't ready to see that shit. Right? And it just, like, just how the space, like, it's like how they did, the artwork in the game is done in such a way that you feel it, like Subnautica. You know what I mean? Like you feel it on a 27-inch screen. Like it's too much for my sense, and I can't play it. Both of them. Subnautica was an excellent experience, absolutely excellent. It was outside of being a survival game. Survival games always get kind of annoying because you got to manage your inventory and all this shit like that. But the art direction was so good that I know I'm not the only one like that. There's got to be other people who felt that. I can't play it. Outer Wilds, yeah. If you have any, here's the thing, because I have that. Was it megalophobia? What is it? Megalophobia. I think it's megalophobia. Yeah, I have this megalophobia. I don't want to even bring up a picture. Yeah, see, I feel something. The middle picture right here makes me feel like I can feel the inside of me feel weird just by it's like a boat. It's like a weird boat that has like I can feel it in my feet right now just looking at that picture on fucking YouTube. Right? Now, buildings don't do anything. Large buildings don't do anything to me, probably because I kind of always grew up around some type of a tall building. Buildings, I actually feel more comfortable around buildings. But my thing is, when it's a large object, especially if it starts to not make a lot of sense. Like, for example, a large building may not make me panic, but like if there was a microwave that was like 20 feet tall, that would make me panic. It's like the dumbest shit. Like it's something that doesn't make sense. If it starts to not make a lot of sense and it feels massive, I can't. So I remember I was with my spouse. This is when the computer was over there, and I told her this because she never knew. I never told her I have this fear. And I would only play the game when she's here, right? And I told her. So I said, I want you to sit down. I want to see if you feel something. So I told her like I said like I'm afraid to do this because I have this fear of seeing stuff like this. I said I'm gonna fly to this planet and I want to see if you can handle it. And she goes okay. And she sat on the bed bed was like next to the computer. And I flew the spaceship to that green planet when you go under the clouds and it's just a storm and it's like tornadoes and shit. And like I had to pause it. And I said, "Did you?" I said, "You don't feel that?" She goes, "No. What are you talking about?" Like you, she doesn't feel it at all. I had to pause the game. I just had to hit escape and just pause it. I couldn't do it. I think I just turned it off after that. I couldn't play it because there's other planets that like I can work through, but it still fucks with me. Like there's some of those planets that like have like where you can go into it almost to like the core and it's like a black hole kind of thing at the core. I can do that on my own if I'm here by myself, but it bothers me too bad. It bothers me pretty bad too. Look in the mud flood on mud flood and Tartarian hidden history that'll resolve megalophobia and the coolest. I'm scared to even type this shit in. Let me do it. Look into the mud. Did I spell it right? Oh, I said mood flood. Okay, this is what you said. Tartarian hidden past. Pseudoscientific Russian. You said hidden history. So another thing that bothers me is like if I just look out, like if I'm driving and I could just see forever, that fucks with me too. I can't do that either. Basically, all the old world buildings have giant doorways and shit for a giant race. That okay. Yeah, let's do that. Doors. Oh, I see. Okay, so wait, wow, I can't really make that out. Giants. Okay, this is what you were talking about. Explore the darkest corners of history into a hidden history, reveal a fascinating journey to the deep enigma to Tartaria, mystery land. History record, not history. Larry Fitzgerald delves into the depths of history, bring forth the past deliberately kept in the shadows. There are clues still around in plain sight all over the place once you learn to see word out. These used taught us that homes built with wooden horse and buggies and hammers and chisels stuck in the word. I'd never heard of this, okay? Never heard of this. Let me see. So they're saying this is a doorway. They're saying that that big giant hall in the middle is a doorway for the giants. And I guess the regular people supposedly walked in like the other small ones. Word. They designed us, the bigger race. Hey, who the fuck knows, man? I don't know. I can't argue that. Once you go down this rabbit hole, coming back, all the other web of lies melts away. Word. Hey, I don't fucking know. I'm gonna get out of here, man. I'm gonna let y'all go because it's 10:46 here now. Subnautica's only on PC. I thought Subnautica was on consoles. I'm pretty sure it's on consoles. Probably butchered that spelling. I'm pretty sure it was on. Yeah, it's on PlayStation. Yeah, it's on consoles. I can't play it. It's a beautiful game. I've seen other people play it. I think the fact that it can even get that kind of emotion out of me without being some cheap, gore, jump scare bullshit. Yeah, I think it's amazing. Because anybody can be scared of, you can get anybody scared by a jump scare, like, some gore or something like that. But the fact that there's no, like, I say Outer Wilds is the same. The fact that they can make, like, just a genuine environment. You know what I mean? And it's not like, and that's where I criticize FromSoft, because FromSoft always goes back to the same depression bullshit, right? Like games like something like Subnautica to me ranks infinitely higher than FromSoft, because FromSoft is doing that same just cheap jump scare area of maintaining interest. I just find horror on a whole, any type of horror, instead of psychological horror, like outside of psychological horror, any type of horror movies, I just find them as just incredibly cheap. Because I think it's just like the easiest way out. So like, again, something like Subnautica that's just made in an actual environment, is literally just water and you're underwater, and it's done that well, is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's something so amazing I'll never be able to play it, but I can acknowledge it as being amazing. FromSoft's main fucking thing is using old world lore to invoke that feeling of loss and despair. There's this YouTube channel that makes AI videos on Souls, and I think it's great. But yeah, it's just a stale, and that's where I criticize FromSoft all the time. It's just too, and that's why I kind of didn't like Hollow Knight, because Hollow Knight kind of did the same thing. It wasn't necessarily like death and despair, but it was still just that constant just sadness. Nothing about the overall mood of anything really changed or tried anything different. It was just constant flat, just darkness for no real reason, just there, And I think that's another reason why I just kind of bounced off Hollow Knight. To me, Metroid is in a perfect middle zone, like. Because if you think about the character, I'm on Metroid because I'm on a Metroid binge, but Samus, the character, it's a woman. But the character is not a good. She's a mercenary, but she's not like an overpowered mercenary. Like, she's literally the mercenary who comes in after like all the damage has already been done, and you're just fighting like the animals that just survived, kind of thing, right? Right? She's not like she's not Jackie Chan fight a bunch of kung fu masters. Like, so if you really like the character's really quite weak if you look at Metroid on a whole, like, for real. Like, the character's not, even though she has a lot of powers, she's still a pretty weak character, for real. And on top of that, like, it's not based in like it has just a serious enough tone to let you know something happened, but it's not like over the top serious, like everybody's walking around like a dead zombie. This person literally only has one arm, but for some reason when he hits you, he takes off like 75% of your life, but he has like literally no bone density or no like, this motherfucker has literally it'll be a zombie that this motherfucker literally has not eaten in 6 months, and for some reason he could pick up a 300-pound sword and sling it to kill you in 2 hits. Like, what? It's just this over the top ridiculousness. Like, it's just so much about FromSoft that just doesn't make sense to me. Like I feel, and here's the thing: I feel like that's done intentionally because I feel like if they were to like make actual sense of lore, people would actually think and then be like, "Wow, this gameplay really sucks." Right? Like it would bring more attention of genuine thought to what they're doing and why they're doing it. Right? I mean, it sells. If they making money, go for it. I, you know what, Patrick? I had that years ago and didn't like it, but now I'm going to try it again because now I'm mentally into Metroid, so I'm going to try it. I think I bought it years ago for like real cheap, and I didn't care for it because I just did not like Metroids at any other time in my life. But now I like them, so I think and I heard they're not extremely long too, so I'm probably going to try that after I hopefully complete Prince of Persia this time. See, because I played it years ago. It was real. It had a real. The only thing I didn't like was he didn't like the character has like almost this kind of delay when he moves. Because I remember I played it years ago, and that's one thing I remember. He had like a delay. Like if you move, he doesn't move like Hollow Knight. On Hollow Knight, if you as soon as you press that button, he moves. Where in Ori and Will or the Ori games, he's like on a delay, like a slight delay to I guess simulate he's an animal or something. But yeah, I gotta go because I'm getting hungry and it's getting late. So yeah, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting hungry and it's like going on 11. So I'll catch y'all later, man. Y'all have a good night and I'll see you later. Peace out.